Intention of justice is to see that the guilty people are proven guilty and that the innocent are freed. Only we have a problem here.
Welcome. We are taking a look at this case from a psychological perspective.
The reason why I like to hear other people's opinions, I like to hear the arguments, and you have to either be able to overcome the argument or agree with it eventually. Mm-hmm. That's the whole point. You can't just go into a case and say this happened or that happened. You have to be able to substantiate it and then deal with the argument that's going to counter it.
A person by the name of Meredith O'Neill sent my entire phone extraction to the bad guys. All of them have it. All of them have it. And what are they doing with it? Are they embarrassing me? No, fuck no. None of them are embarrassing me. They found my porn searches. That's one thing they found. So like one of my searches on there, they're like, he looked for a male porn star.
Look at that. Look at this. Look, he put his pelvis right into him.
Is it?
Right
Definitely.
there. She just pushed him.
She pushed him.
Look at my Karen there. She's play fighting.
And I believe Miss Reed actually did some play fighting to Matt. Yeah, I feel like she was about like this to Matt at one point, yeah.
The Department of Justice is run by the federal government. Underneath them is the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's offices, which are located throughout the country. The FBI and the U.S. Attorney's offices have jurisdiction not over state crimes, which generally would include the murder of John O'Keefe, but over federal crimes, which could include police misconduct, police corruption, and otherwise. But Karen Reed was able to outsmart them all and get them involved in the investigation. It may not have led to any criminal charges. However, we know that she was able to obtain many documents and information, including telephone records, for which she never would have received.
I know at one point, Mr. Albert, Brian's Jr.'s dad, took upstairs to let the dog out back.
So listen to the way she frames this. You would think, if you didn't know anything about the situation, that Brian Albert Sr. goes upstairs, and upstairs there's like a back door. Into the lawn, onto the lawn, like they're in the basement. Listen to the way she answers this. We're just listening like completely objective, neutral parties.
I know at one point, Mr. Albert, Brian's Jr.'s dad, took upstairs to let the dog out back.
So March 5th, Dildo doubles down on lie about inaccurate KR tweet. Cites 3 Facebook Twitter posts from something called Mitch Mitch. That's Mitch Mitch. There's Mitch Mitch. So this is Mitch Mitch. This is our guy. This is where Dildo gets his news from. And Crazy Susan, okay? Dildo also says he had no idea the recording was illegally recorded.
Another Karen Reed civil hearing in Plymouth Superior. We'll see if Plymouth is far enough away from Dedham to escape the stench of Morrissey's corrupt ass. Karen rocking the lighter hair color. Jackson dusts off the dried blood of Hank Brennan from his suit jacket. Judge Gildia takes the bench and in classic Massachusetts fashion, immediately calls for a sidebar. We're at sidebar for almost 40 minutes. Jackson sends a text to Diller that reads, "You coming here?" with 3 question marks as they meet out in the lobby. Christina Reck shows up 40 minutes late and promptly greets the O'Keefes. We stare at a ceiling without a fan for what feels like 2 hours before the lawyers return. Finally, we get to hear the attorneys speak. Just kidding. It's another sidebar. Finally, Diller gets up and says this.
I also want to acknowledge to this court and to Miss Reed that I was mistaken when I interpreted her words to say, I'm dead. I'm effing dead.
That's it.
AJ took on the role of a strict father.
Has to buy that. So, has to buy that. So,
and showing solidarity, you can see them there.
It's about getting justice for John O'Keefe. There clearly is an issue of integrity.
How dare they? Justice for all. Only we have a problem here.
Welcome. Happy Monday, everybody. It is our Monday nooner which means it is time for I, Samantha Benigno, and my co-host, Loophole lawyer. Hi, Vince.
How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Your openings are amazing. Whenever I'm on the treadmill, I can put it on there and know I can get basically a half a mile out of it and not even pay attention.
I like it though. I'm learning to like the 4-minute open. At first it was like, why are these openings so long? But actually, I like it now.
Yeah,
good.
I generally can't last 4 minutes, but in that sense, usually it's like between 5 and 6. I do about like 5.5 to 6 on the treadmill, so usually I get like a half a mile out of it, but I absolutely love it. It's great editing, and I appreciate it. I know sometimes you're doing things all by yourself. It's a lonely world in YouTube most of the time when you're editing.
That's true.
You don't have much interaction. You never realize how much people appreciate things. Now, I know you have a car in the city, as do I, but we're not in it on a daily basis. So sometimes you forget how important talk radio is. Now, obviously, you come from a royalty of talk radio, and it was so critical back then because there were no options. You couldn't plug in a phone. So we had to listen to your dad. And I won't mention the shaved balls. I won't do it this time, I promise. But it is important that when you're driving sometimes, or when you're working, we don't really get that in New York City. But the people outside of here that drive every day, it's important. Even when the shows go long, it at least gives you something to do. And I absolutely love your openings.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And that is so true. I grew up with talk radio. I used to put it on as soon as I would walk into my house, is listen to talk radio. Whether for a while I listened to Howard Stern on the radio, believe it or not, like before he went to Sirius XM. And then, of course, the Fan, grew up with the Fan. So I get it. I understand it. And you're right. The editing is an enormous part of our job that really nobody sees. It's a big part of what we do, though. It really is.
How crazy was it when your dad came home and informed everyone that he got the job at WFAN? For those who don't know, it's the biggest, largest talk radio station at that time. It's absolutely huge. It's like almost becoming the president if you're talking about broadcast. So what happened when he finally informed you?
I don't think that any of us truly understood the gravity of that. I really don't. I remember the first time I understood it was when the head coach of the Knicks called my father at home, and he was like, Joe, it was Jeff Van Gundy at the time, and my father thought it was a joke. He thought it was like a friend that was spoofing him, but it wasn't. It was something that he had heard the night before, and I think that was probably around the time when I realized like that he was reaching as many people as he was. It took a long time for me to register it, though, for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't, and really, I'm not a huge pro basketball fan, but Jeff Van Gundy, for those you don't know, is by far the least looking pro basketball person you'll ever meet. Picture like a 4-foot Nebuchadnezzar Jewish guy, and somehow he became the coach of the Knicks. Am I right about that one?
Yeah, absolutely. But he's got this intense voice too, right? He's kind of like has a boss sound. So the whole thing was a trip. But that's how it is. When you have it's your dad, so it just doesn't register. I still don't think it registers entirely, unless I'm at like a Jet game with him, and then it registers.
Yeah, and Howard Stern would talk about how his kids would look at him with basic disgust, like most kids do to their parents. They never cared, but the second they walk out in the world, everyone loves them, but your kids still have that little animosity towards you.
Right, that's right. Well, it interrupts everything you're doing all the time, right? Like, so it takes much longer to just walk down the street, or go to the bagel store or whatever you're doing. So that's, yeah.
All right, so a lot has come out, and I'm not sure how we take the issue with Aiden Turtle Boy, because he's friendly with both of us more so than me, but I don't necessarily think that anything that's come out has been negative towards him. The beauty of Turtle Boy, whether you like him or not, is he's authentic. He talks about everything. And in your opening, you had said that, he had said that they found his porn searches. And the funny thing is, everyone's got them in there, whether you like it or not. You would be embarrassed about him. He's the type of guy that handles it perfectly. He admits to it, discloses it, and then moves on. So I'm trying to watch the 4 skin girls, with the 5 girls with Tuesday, and they have what they claim is this big, huge revelation with all these text messages, and none of them seem to really mean anything at all that are significant.
I agree. Totally. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't have said it better. I think that's exactly right. I don't see anything in there that's incriminating or that isn't stuff we already know. That's how I would say.
Right. Agreed. So yesterday the girls were at the is it Forensic Channel? Forensic Channel.
Forensic Room, I think is the name of it. Yes.
They thought they had this big revelation. Oh, we got all these people doing research. You're allowed to track research as long as you're within the confines of the law to do everything in your power to investigate whomever is suing you, whoever is confronting you, especially in a criminal investigation. It is your right. It's your constitutional right to face your accuser. You can't just have someone make an allegation against you and then you don't get to face them. The beauty of our system is you get to face them, and that means going through every single thing. You can trail them legally, and we saw in Massachusetts with little Colin Albert with regard to the stalking laws. If you're not interfering with the person or threatening them in any way, you can follow them, and you better be following them, and you better believe that a DLA Piper type firm will not only follow you, they'll follow everything about your life. So when it comes to cross-examination, we have everything on you. Whether it's relevant or not, we are going to have it, and that's what you have to do to win a case.
So you're referencing some of the text that were directing Aiden to, drive by the house or go look at this, go look at that. Those types of texts that they weren't super incriminating. There's one where Aiden, admits he looked in the garage at Chris Albert's house. There's a few things like that, but yeah, they seem extraordinarily minuscule. And by the way, we have texts where Jen McCabe and co are actually talking about stalking Turtle Boy, right? So it's just, I don't know. I just don't think it's such a big deal. That's my opinion.
Yeah. And when we use the words, we have to be careful, because when we say stalking, it could be a general term, and then there's criminal stalking, which would violate either a state or federal law, which I don't see that happening. Now, if you're saying that Turtle Boy looked into Chris Albert's garage, well, how did he do it? You can easily do it when you're walking by it. You're allowed to. If it's in public view, you can look into it. You can zoom your camera into it. That's just the way our laws are. If it's out in public, and he better do it. If someone is making an accusation against you, you could do it. As long as you're not breaking any laws, you should be doing it. So I don't see the real issue in whatever they're disclosing.
I don't either. You have some people in the chat asking questions about, is Meredith in trouble because she essentially leaked the cell phone extraction to whoever publicly?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I won't give an answer right now unless I know the exact details, how she came into possession of that information. Generally, probably not if it was given to her. That's just my lay opinion without really knowing how and what, because I know there's an issue with regard to whether she got the link to the Google Drive and then how did she get it. If it was given to her, most likely probably not. Now, if there's some form of revenge porn in there, meaning any type of pictures of him, I don't know if that's the case or not. Potentially. It could be. Now, there could be civil liability with regard to what she did, which is something where I always say, like, if they start suing you, you better have something back at them if there's a valid legal claim, because you don't want her to be doing all this and then have no pressure whatsoever. But Turtle Boy's handling it great. In reality, the more you fight it, the more it's going to bring attention to it. And he is the perfect person for this to happen to, because he's very open about it. A lot of us don't even come out here because we're afraid of everything in our lives. And when you're a public figure, you have to be able to give up a lot of that, almost all of it.
Totally. Yep. Yeah, it's tough. I see a lot of people, even on Twitter or wherever, reacting to criticism. And for me, it was really the opposite. I was saying this to everybody on our group chat that, for me, I assumed that there would be that. What I didn't anticipate was like the kindness and just how supportive people can be. Maybe because I expect the polarization or whatever that just our culture's in at this time. So I agree with you. You kind of make yourself a target if you put yourself out there. That's just the world we live in. For sure.
And I like being the villain in the other world that I'm in, the Howard Stern world that I'm in, and generally that's my personality anyway, so I say it's an act, but for the most part, I like it. And Your old boss used to say that you should have about 50% of the people watching you disliking you. If you have just 100% liking you, you're not going to get that far. And it's also not compelling information. You do have a great community here, which I like. There's a lot of support. But I always said to you, and I said to everyone, I don't want anyone blocked for any reason on any show that I'm on. I want to hear the criticism, even if it's negative, even if it's just personal attacks. I'm okay with it. And you have to learn to do that. And I think Turtle Boy does sort of get that. I know he spent a lot of time fighting his enemies, but he's also very open too. He's not a locale where everything bothers him. He's probably the exact opposite, where he allows everyone to see. He talked about how great masturbation is the other day. I never heard that before. The only last time I heard that was from your old boss, Howard Stern, and he's talking about it. He's like, well, what would I be embarrassed about? It's the greatest thing in the world. So it's very refreshing to hear authentic human thought. And that's really your whole life, basically, outside of here, right? Analyzing people, what they really, really are trying to say, not what we're faking. Because a lot of the time, most of the time, we're faking on some level what we're trying to do.
Sure. Yeah, right. Well, and especially when it matters, right? I mean, I like to say I was out with somebody over lunch these last few days, and they were saying, I'm watching your videos, and now that I'm sitting in front of you, I feel like you're analyzing me. And every time I do with my lips, you're like, oh my God, is she lying? And I thought it was hilarious because it's definitely not something that comes up in casual life because our intentions are different, right? If I'm testifying in a court of law, the assumption is that I am telling the truth. I mean, that's what happens when you walk in. You take an oath, right? And so that's a very different setting than when you're at lunch with a friend, where just I'm not thinking that way, number one. But number two, you didn't take an oath before you sat down with me for lunch, right? So like you're saying, in casual life, it's just not so important that every detail of what you say is exactly the way it happened and exactly the way you remember it. But it is when you take an oath or when, a prosecutor is trying to say that you are guilty of a crime like murder.
100%. And you bring up a great point in the legal field because you are not obligated to tell the truth at any point unless technically you're under oath and you're swearing to it. So I can go on a documentary like Karen Reed did and lie my ass off, but it's entertainment and it doesn't mean that it's real. That's why I was sort of weirded out by the fact that they were utilizing her documentaries as sort of as if she really testified to it. You're not under oath. And you know this better than anyone, better than me. This is an entertainment field where a lot of times you are fabricating a little bit of a story or embellishing a story. So I hate when people believe that, oh, the president said this to me, whoever it may be. But if you're not under oath, you don't have to say a goddamn word of truth. You're not obligated legally to say the truth. When you're under oath, meaning you're at a deposition, you're at a trial, or you're making those sworn affidavits, that's something where you can be potentially held criminally liable for any misrepresentation. Anything else, you could say whatever you want, in theory.
Exactly right. And I think with Karen, she had an intent. So all those documentaries, all the interviews, everything that she's done publicly had intent. I mean, she was there to state her case without having to do it, during the trials. So that is also a little different in that we know that she has the full intent to get her story out. So I don't think that changes how Hank Brennan, I mean, I thought that was absurd. Him trying to use little moments of clips of her statements in trial was just silliness. And I don't think they were incriminating either. But she is trying to get her story out. So they do have I think a greater significance than, the average person in the average setting in terms of analysis. But I agree with you 100% that, I mean, that's what makes a trial so unique. And I know both of us have been sort of tracking the Corey Richards case, which is another, sort of interesting, maybe comparable in some ways scenario to the Karen Reed trial, because we have a woman being charged of murder, right? Not her boyfriend, her husband. And so there's sort of themes or threads that might be interchangeable in that case too. So
yeah, there certainly are. And right before the show, I don't know how you have the time, but you, Emily, and Corey, and myself, I'm getting texts from you about who's hot, who's not, with regard to that case, with regard to the beautiful lawyer, you girls are like, well, maybe, he's not the hottest guy in the world. I had said, how do you have time to do that right before a show? I don't know. But I said to you, he's obviously better looking than most people. This is the lawyer you know, who you girls were microanalyzing. And then I guess you're talking about his father, who's an attorney, who's Greek, and he said something very important. And maybe I'm a little facetious about it, but maybe she is too pretty to be guilty. You know, that's my joke. Right. My FKR, free Corey Richins, right? If we're going FKR for Karen, then we're going to free Corey Richins as a joke because she's so pretty. And I know she does have a little bit of a mousy look, but she is a pretty girl, and you can't deny the fact, a pretty white girl. There is something in the media that makes things more appealing to a lot of people for whatever the reason. And we did talk about the word limerence, and I know you come down hard on me as to how I use it. And I had never heard this word until about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And I've seen it with some of my friends. I've seen it in real life, and it's a real thing. And maybe we'll get into it today. If you want to talk about Corey Richins, it's a great example because you get to see her private texts, which are way more intrusive than the Karen Reed text, because they've been going for a long time. They had a long-term relationship. It's a different type of affair than the Brian Higgins affair. And who knows if Brian Higgins and Karen Reed would have had a longer-term thing, but for sure, Corey Richins was in head over heels with this guy. But everything stems back really to her childhood. And I didn't realize this, but Lawyer Lee is my kid's favorite. Sorry, my son Devin, who's a junior now. Oh, you should be more like Lawyer Lee. She's so professional. This, that.
Okay.
You know, like, he doesn't understand. Like, I come from the Howard Stern. Yeah, he wants me to be Lawyer Lee. But she does do a great show. And he's kind of right, because I do watch Lawyer Lee. And she's doing a great breakdown of this. And there is the psychological and human behavior part. Maybe she's not 100% understanding because she's so focused on being good at the law. Maybe she hasn't had much experience dating and cheating and all this other stuff. Right? So it's like, you have to have that. It's not just what Corey Richins did. It's how she was brought up. And I thought it was fascinating that Lawyer Lee was reading a document that I don't know where she got it from. Did you see this where
it was submitted in court?
This third party, that's where she got it from?
So they brought in on Thursday her best friend, current best friend, and they had done a retreat in February of 2021 where the assignment was to write your life story in 2 pages in the third person. And that's what she was reading. So they actually did introduce it in court, but in the worst way, where they didn't actually have anybody read it. They just had the jury read it on their own. So the poor witnesses were sitting there in tremendous silence. And of course, she's melting down too during that time, just like the boyfriend did, right? So, but that's how it was brought into the trial on Thursday.
So she was assigned to write something about her life, but say it in the third person. I guess it is so you detach a little more and you're a little bit more honest about what you're saying. But you find out that her mom was a compulsive gambler, that she comes from a divorce home. And these are issues that you have to realize that Corey Richins, has to deal with. So a lot of her trouble.
Wait, time out. Hold on. And the father was an alcoholic who ran over a police officer on the side of the road who had pulled somebody over and spent 6.5 years in prison for that. So it was both of her parents, even though mom wound up being the one to raise her because dad went to prison.
In Bethpage, where I grew up, high school, we had these little units that they would teach us how to drive cars. And it was sort of innovative for the time. You'd watch a big screen, but you'd be at a steering wheel, and there's a bunch of little stations. And my teacher, Mr. Sinelli, told me, if you ever break down on the highway and you pull over to the side of the road, get out of your car and stand in the woods, because you are going to watch your car get hit, which is on the side of the road legitimately in the shoulder. It is so dangerous to be on that side of the road. And I don't know why I say this. I tell my kids this all the time. It always sticks with me because it happens so many times on a highway because someone's not paying attention or they're drunk, like Corey Richins' dad.
Or texting now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. So please, if you ever have that happen to you, this will save your life. It will save somebody's life. I'm guaranteeing you, your car will get hit eventually if you're broken down. But yeah, so you have those aspects of her life. And you see Corey Richins is basically an addict when it comes to the gambling aspect. She's not only gambling with the real estate, she's also gambling with this side lover. And the word limerence, which you can better explain to us, I know has a lot to do with the same type of hits your brain gets of dopamine from gambling. And that's a real big theme in Corey Richon's life. The real question is, did she gamble with getting rid of the husband, which makes things temporarily easily in her mind, and kill him?
Yes. My opinion is she absolutely did. And I think everybody, the prosecution wants us to believe it was about money. While I think money was a factor, there were a lot more complexities to it because she didn't care. She used money like it was monopoly money, right? I mean, you saw how she was, borrowing, stealing just to be able to pay payroll, on an ongoing basis. It was the property, it was the symbolism, having these homes in Park City, Utah, and what that meant to her. But at the same time, it was Eric that held down the fort so that she could use money as monopoly money. So to me, I think she was very conflicted about Eric. Ultimately, she cared about her reputation. And that's what I think it came down to. And I would also say if Josh Grossman didn't exist in the world, I think Eric is probably still alive because, as you pointed out, she felt whole with him. And ultimately, that's what she was after. Because, yeah, for sure, he was more, like as I said to you, it's more than limerence with this guy because this is like a full-blown attachment. And she set it up that way because he was like the secret. He was like her confidant. Like he described it as best friend, the way you would talk to your best friend. And the way and I don't know if you saw Thursday, it was important because we learned so much about how she lied. She was lying to her best friends 7-8 months out. So you start to see that she's planning and plotting long before she actually executes because in my opinion, she realized, all right, if I play the family card, if everybody else thinks that our relationship is solid and that I'm going to counseling and that he's doing anger management, right? Then when it comes time, she's telling her friends that her and Josh have been done for 9 months. When it comes time, everyone's going to think I'm the poor widow and I'll get, she didn't know the house was in the trust, which was a big, I'm sure it was big news to her when she heard it. So in the end, I think that is what, tipped the scales was Josh and this idea that she could live happily ever after with him.
Right, and that's the issue. It's Josh technically, and when we define limerence, at least my definition is that you're in an unrealistic relationship where you think the guy that you're currently with is going to be the perfect person for you long term, and generally it's not. Generally, it's usually a derelict or a drifter or a wanderer, but they're providing that emotional support and obviously the physical part too. It's a fantasy world, and in this case we see as it plays out in real life, they didn't even last about 8 months. So this is the perfect person that didn't last 8 months. But when you mention the house, it's very telling because in the 2-page thing that she wrote, the biggest thing about a kid and is probably losing your house and having to move, and her mom was gambling and losing the money. And when she called her husband's best friend, my detection of women bullshit was all over the place. And I was telling you this as well because one, she said, I don't give a shit about money. Generally, when people say that, that's all they generally care about.
Of course, right. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. I don't care about money, but I want to stay in the house. And then, so the next thing was the house. And it was odd to me because even though the trust may own the house, it's not as if she's going to get kicked out of the house because she has the kids, and there's ways to fight it, obviously, and it can be prolonged. But her biggest fear was this house. And her fake crying sent off major detections with me. But when she complains that she was called a bad mother, and she tells the best friend, I'm not a bad mother. Can you believe they called me a bad mother? Yeah, bitch, you killed the kid's father, right? Like, and it was so fake. But that was like the things that was sort of fake triggering her.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, and that's why I was asking you, at no time, she's on this call, and the friend Chelsea starts telling Bryce, the family thinks that she had something to do with Eric's death. And at no time does she say, I didn't kill Eric. If you did not do this, you would be screaming that like from the rooftops. That's the thing you'd be focused on. Like, can you fucking believe these people think I killed my husband? Like, it would be, you'd be just, appalled, angry. She never says it. Instead, she says, I didn't do anything, And so it's like, come on, Corey, you said it. The thing that the addiction part is so important because it's more than just, compelling behavior. It means that she's she's learned a survival instinct, and she's watched it with her two parents to put up a facade. And what matters is not who you are and who you really are. What matters is how other people perceive you. So all the effort goes to that persona, and you can really see that with her, that's what she counted on. And I think when you're living in I don't know if you've ever spent time in Utah, but the Mormons are like the nicest people. They really, really are. Like you just step foot in the airport in Utah and Salt Lake, and you just feel it. Like people are kind. It's a nicer world there. And of course there's all kinds of stuff. It's humans, but people are kind. And I think she's leveraging that. I think she thinks that this community of people who generally are trusting are going to see her as the widower and not the woman who killed her husband. So I think she was kind of betting on it.
Yeah, and someone was doing a comparison of her crying video initially when the cops got there with Wendy Jill Adelson crying at the police interrogation, and I could see sort of the similarities. But the fact that she mentions, I gave him this drink we had a drink to celebrate at 9 o'clock. It was like, why would you ever say that if you saw someone that you loved dying or dead next to you? Like, that wouldn't even come to your mind unless, of course, it was so significant in the event that actually took place. But yeah, the lawyer knows dad, who's a great attorney, he claims that there's a chance that she could get off based upon her looks, and obviously maybe something else. Really, he was saying the proof, but to me, there's just so many things that are indicative of her being guilty. Oh, another attorney that I liked, I don't know if you saw this, he's an older guy. He has an ocean in his background, but he's very soothing when he talks. Oh man, I wish I can get his name, but he really hit it big on this type of case. He's so great to listen to, and he's very calm. And he was saying that it's just one piece of evidence you look at, fine, you can explain away. But when you have like 4 or 5 significant things, then all of a sudden everything starts to add up. And he's on the camp that she is guilty, which I am too.
And there's two things, right? I mean, there's proof beyond a reasonable doubt, which I always talk about, which is, okay, did the lawyers meet the bar, right? And then there's, did this woman do it? And I don't think they're always the same. The lawyers have to present the case. And so I think he's really talking about that piece. Like, did they prove beyond a reasonable doubt? And I could see it both ways. I could see an argument where they're presenting important information, but does it all pass? Does it meet the burden? To me, the quetiapine with the fentanyl was really like the death blow. Now, I don't know how much people on that jury understand about antipsychotics or about drugs and about medication, but when you learn that it wasn't just fentanyl, that it was also an antipsychotic sleeping medication that will knock a horse out, which is what it does. If you've ever taken Seroquel, it really knocks you out, especially if you don't take it at a small dose, right? I mean, if they can give it at higher doses, but even a small dose, especially mixed with a narcotic, it's gonna put you on your ass. And my guess is that was her insurance. So unless you could imagine a world where Eric Richins is like stealing her antipsychotic medication to go to sleep at night, who's gonna put quetiapine in the mix except for her, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I believe if there are women on that jury, and men too, but you were going to see and feel her inauthenticity with regard to a lot of the aspects that are going on, especially with the fact that you're buying these drugs from your housekeeper all of a sudden out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden he ends up dead. And once people read those text messages, whether or not they understand the limerence aspect, they are going to understand that that's a huge, huge motivator to potentially kill someone. Yeah, as stupid as it is, as much as she doesn't understand limerence. Yes.
Yeah. And it was stupid. You're absolutely right. And, it's very funny. I think Number one, she didn't have the capacity to think long term, which is why we see the irresponsible financial behavior. She just couldn't think long term. It was just buy, 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 get as much, And then she's telling people, I'm this real estate mogul. I turned $250,000 into $11 million, and that's going to go to my kids. Meanwhile, none of that is solid. It's all on the most shaky foundation that you could have it be on. And at the same time, telling everybody, oh, I've done with Josh, like we're over, I'm going to focus on my family, I love Eric, I love my family. I mean, the whole thing is just, it's a setup. I mean, to me, I understand what the lawyer you know's dad is saying, but when you start putting the pieces together, and as you said, she's sitting in front of them, and we remember how people judged Karen Reed's facial expressions and the way she sat there and, wasn't emotional when Katie was on the stand, when Eric's father was on the stand. She is expressive, maybe more than I think Karen was at times in front of the jury. But yeah, it's not good expressive. It's all stuff that if you want to have nefarious intent, if you want to try to put that on her, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see that nefarious intent with her, I think.
Totally agree. Can you explain to me what the things in your hair are, the tinsels? Are they interwoven in, or are they just temporary things?
Yeah, my sister does them, actually. That's where I got them.
How does it work? My mom was by the way, I asked because my mom was a hairdresser out of my house. I inhaled perm fumes for 30 straight years because she did it in the basement.
Wow.
People came in, the women came in every single week. It was more of a therapy session. Every week they got their hair done. So that's why I'm a big yenta, because I can listen to their stories all day long because I was upstairs and inhaling perm fumes. But I saw someone have that in their hair, and I asked my wife, like, what is it? And I didn't understand it because I'd never seen it before. So what is the actual procedure? Is it temporary? Is it permanent?
No, I mean, it's tinsel. It is tinsel, and you can do it a bunch of different ways, but it's like an extension. You can like sew it in, or you can glue it in. And I just kind of glued it in with something called keratin glue. You can take it out. You just need, you can take it out with heat, or you can take it out with stuff that takes it out anytime you want. Yeah.
I like it. I got to turn my lights on for a second, so maybe you can read some questions.
Go for it. Yes, I know we're getting backed up, so let's get to these. Hello, Mackenzie. How are you, dear? She sends $9.99. Sam, I watched your video on the judge. Yep. Your analysis of her as a public defender with a deep sense of insecurity next to these high-paid lawyers is spot on. Thank you for that. That was like something I really deeply tried to understand. I could not figure out what her, the bug up her butt was. Like, I just could not figure it out. And then I learned that she was a public defender, and it was like, okay, now this is all kind of making sense. Also, I did not slide into Corey's DMs. Shut up, Vince. That's awesome. Thanks, Mackenzie.
Well, Corey does like Mackenzie. She keeps asking for you to zoom in on that picture. And the weird thing is, she told me that she's off of Twitter now. I don't know if it's going to be permanent or not. So what happens in her mind? She gets attacked, I guess, by some people, or is it her job? But does this happen before? I don't know. Why Corey leaves.
I think what I got, the sense I got, is sort of just the negativity. I don't know that it was anything specific. I think it was just her feeling like it can be Twitter specifically, and I don't spend enough time on there. I really don't. I have an account. I like to check. There's some pretty good stuff, especially people that are following the Karen Reed case. So there's some pretty solid work on that on Twitter that is important. But I just don't have the time as much as I would like. I think the experience, and Emily C. certainly can speak to this too, is that there's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of trolls. There's a lot of just fighting that goes on. And so there is hate. There is just a lot more negative. And I think especially if you're sensitive to it or you're focused on it, then of course it's going to be frustrating or just, unpleasant. And I think she's just like, why bother with it? It's,
Yeah, Corey is very dedicated to her intelligence, getting the facts, and picking up women. I'm not saying like she actually meets them, but those are her two things. No, she is very dedicated to what she does.
Stop. He's silly. You're being silly. Hope for Justice 26 sends 20, I think, is that Australian dollars? That's huge. Thank you so much. Love, love, love you guys. Just wondering what you guys thought of BA saying in his testimony that Julie N not only went out to her bro after 1:30, after BH had already left Fairview. I only heard it when rewatching the other day. let's see. Let me read this again. Just
Yeah,
wondering what
read
you
that
guys
clip.
thought of Brian Albert saying in his testimony that Julie Nagel only went out to her brother. Oh, after 1:30, after Brian Higgins had already left Fairview. I don't think I knew that.
I don't think.
That's
Yeah, I don't think
interesting.
he said that. Or he may have said that, but I'm not sure. I did see discrepancies in the reports initially that they were claiming the daughter left early at 12:15 to 12:30. I'm sure maybe everyone knew that already. I don't know if it's bad police work or it was intentional. I know that Alan did question both Nicole and Brian Albert about that discrepancy. But see, they can easily speak it away as to say as it was a mistake by the police officer. I will say this, that the girls at the Forensic File had 2 detectives on their show. And it was interesting because a lot of times they bring people on to counter the free Karen Reed nuts that we are. We're the crazy ones. So
Sure.
it was interesting to have these detectives. They're on a show. And maybe we can transition to that video now because it was fun to see how the detectives are explaining how important it is not to jump to a conclusion. And I'm not sure if the girls got that or not. And I didn't put it in this video, but they also explain how dark humor is important to people in their industry, which meaning like dark humor, you speak about death, and you
Sure.
can probably explain to us how important humor is when dealing with tragedy and other types of events.
Sure.
Probably more than anyone else could. It's important. But what the officer did say was that it can't become personal. I mean, you can't say, hey, look at that arm that just fell off the woman that I'm here, right? Like,
Right.
you can make a general joke, but not to actually get specific. And I don't think the girls, except for Tuesday, understood how ironic that advice was, because what we had was Michael Proctor, not this evil person, but so negligent in his investigation that it led to Karen being falsely arrested. Of course, it led to all of us being here. And you have to thank Michael Proctor for doing all the wrong things. Otherwise, we never would have gotten everything that we've gotten so far. We wouldn't be here today
True.
still investigating this. If he did it properly, perhaps they wouldn't have got the right person. Who knows? But you just thank him for what it is. And it is interesting to watch the girls hear that. And I'm not sure if they're understanding how critical that information is.
Yeah, I'm sure they're finding a way to reason it away or to, you know, I think they just have to find a way to make it all fit in their narrative. And I don't know how they do it. You know, even speaking to Kevin, I think I got a little bit closer to understanding, because that's always been my question. Like, how are you just ignoring all of, and for me, it's always, of course, the statements. So, for example, you just mentioned Caitlin and what they said initially about Caitlin not being there. My sense is that the first go round of statements, they tried to keep all of the kids except for Brian Jr. and his friends, because it was their birthday, out. In fact, actually, you know what? I don't think they mentioned Brian Jr. in the first go round. I don't even think they mention him. So they leave him out. They mention that all the kids are not there at that point. So I think the picture they were trying to paint was just to keep all the kids out of it initially. And that was, you know, eventually foiled completely by Aiden, who came along and discovered that everybody was there or whatever. So I don't remember exactly at what point it changes, but it changes pretty quickly. And on the stand, it's really funny. Nicole admits, she says by accident, she admits that the first time she said it, she did say that about Caitlin, because she says, well, every other time after that first time, I said that she left at, you know, she was the last to leave, right? So she does end up, you know, sort of conceding that she initially gave that statement, which is kind of funny.
It's funny, but it's interesting though. Is there ever such thing as an accident? Was she trying to cover up something that happened with her daughter, or was she just doing a general trying to keep the kids out of it because they weren't involved at all? You know, you don't know, but clearly that wasn't an accident. She reminds me a lot of my mom. So I sort of like my biological mom. I sort of feel that they will lie if they needed to. They're not liars in general. So when they are lying, it's sort of obvious to most people. Yeah, but she will stick to a story and go to her grave with that story, and
Yep.
that's it. And I'm sort of getting that vibe from her.
Everything Nicole does the entire time is to protect the kids. So her mind at every moment is focused on it's the reason why her story, Brian Jr.'s story, and Caitlin's story are exactly the same, but doesn't matter that Julie Albert tells a different story, that Tristan gives us a different story, that all these other witnesses, Sarah, Julie, they give us a different story about the same sequence of events. But the three of them, for whatever reason, decided to, obviously they practiced together, they rehearsed together, keep the story exact. And you can see the entire way that her mind is squarely focused from the moment that night starts, the early part of the night when Julie and Sarah show up, and then Julie Albert comes and picks her and Caitlin up, takes them to the waterfall. They have dinner there. Eventually Brian Higgins and Brian Albert show up, right? So, but starting right away, that's where she starts to, mislead us about who's where doing what. And it's all designed to keep Caitlin out of it. It's very bizarre. This is why, though, and this is exactly to your point, it's very difficult to suss out, are they doing all of that to protect the kids generally, like just to keep them out of trouble, or because they had some role in all of this and therefore are trying to protect them on top of what would be the normal instinct of a parent, right? And the challenge is, here's the problem that I have, and this is what I've been focusing on with the people in the house, is the time of the crime and trying to understand why, when all of these people are asked, what happened when you first arrived back from the waterfall before Karen and John were there. Now, I know it's not a lot of time. It's anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes, 24 minutes, if they get home around 12:05. I mean, it's not even 20 full minutes, maybe, right? Arguably. Yep. But it's enough time to walk into the house and give us a play-by-play. For example, if I asked you on Thanksgiving this year or during the holidays, when you walked in or when people came to your home, what's the first thing that happened? And I can tell you with pretty good detail, because it wasn't that long ago, and because of recency and primacy, we'll remember the beginning and the end of a sequence of events. So I can tell you, oh, this is who I saw when I pulled up and I saw these cars and my cousin was over here and then I walked in the house. Even though it was only 5 minutes or maybe 10, I can give you a very specific play-by-play. And from them, we just get these like extremely overly general statements. They're so rehearsed that literally every time Jennifer is asked, she gives the exact same statement, exactly the same way every time. And that's got to be like 6 or 7 times when you combine the trials, both direct and cross. So it's wild to me that they can't give us anything about what was happening when they walked in before John and Karen get there. That to me is very bizarre. Like, why not?
My Jewish in-laws came in. They complained about the traffic. My father-in-law looked at my mother-in-law and made sure whatever he's saying was right, but they definitely complained about the traffic. The car that we got for them via Uber wasn't that great, and that's what happened. See, I remember exactly, but that's what happens every single time they come.
Right, exactly. Right, but you can say, you can give a play-by-play. I hung my jacket up, like I went over to the refrigerator, grabbed a glass of water, or I went over and saw my sister, I gave her a hug, I said happy birthday to my nephew, I pulled a card out of my purse, and I gave him the card, and all they do is they just reiterate laughing, talking, playing music, laughing, talking, playing music. And it's the most bizarre. There's then there's issues about who was playing music and where they were playing it from, right? So there are those speakers in the family room, and I believe some in the kitchen as well, or in the dining room. And there's an entertainment system, which most likely is where those speakers are attached, right? So Julie Nagel tells us, oh, music is playing from the ceiling speakers, but the family, Caitlin, Mom, Brian Jr., talk about a Bluetooth speaker that Caitlin was controlling, and Caitlin says Mom was controlling, right? I mean, it's just the insanity of all of this. And the question is, like, guys, like for these honest people that are just, being misunderstood and mistreated because they're just witnesses. These are the worst witnesses the world has ever seen. Like none of them can get their story straight. And the question is, why can't you tell us anything about what happened in that house?
It's a good question, because we know that at 12:18, between 12:18 and 12:19, you have Jen arriving. You have Jen talking on the phone with John. And then you have Higgins sending that text at 12:20 and 48 seconds. And now, thanks to Corey's video, we know that they're going to arrive at 12:24. So it isn't a lot of time, but I understand what you're saying. And my man Lally was so clever with regard to that speaker, because we heard it so many times. He wanted to give some plausible explanation as to why you would not hear a woman backing her car up at 24 miles an hour, hitting a man, no screaming, no moaning, no yelling, nothing. And he wanted to keep emphasizing the fact that there was music playing, therefore you would not have heard that. It's so absurd to even think about. If you just think logically, you don't have to worry about the bones on his body. Someone would have heard something. I don't care how much music you were playing. And then, of course, you would see the body. It's ridiculous to think that actually occurred. Now, someone did bring up a point on one of my Howard Stern shows, and somehow they super chatted in, like, don't they have a recording in this fancy smancy car as to when a door opens up, which would have been nice, that you can actually see a door opens. John O'Keefe opens the door. I sent the same thing to my best friend Kevin, and I don't know. And then we find out that apparently they account for everything but a door opening in their data. I don't know why they would. Yeah, that's at least what the initial thing is. The black box does not account for when a door opens. And it doesn't seem like something that's so crazy that it wouldn't happen. You would think that they would, considering everything that they do account for. You don't account for a door being open, because it would have been nice to at least to have known that a door opened or not during the key cycle that shows the backing up, right? So then we know maybe, right? Like
the key cycle that they are saying is the key cycle that killed John, to be clear.
Yes, because Kevin and the rest of them are living and dying on the fact that the key cycle shows a 24-hour in reverse, and then there's no movement in John's phone. Again, the problem, Kevin, is we don't know when that key cycle took place. We don't know exactly if it ever did take place when Karen was in possession of the car, whether it took place after. If you had a time correlated to it, then I would give it more weight, but I just can't. Besides the fact that John has no injuries on his body at all, indicating that he got hit with a car. And that's really the biggest thing that destroys that.
Yeah. They would be better off, honestly, if that was a reverse at 7 miles per hour. They would have been so much better off, right? Because the fact that car is going in reverse at like full throttle and with the gas at like fully, whatever you'd call it, pushed all the way, it's like 75% when it's like, this didn't happen, guys. Like this is not what happened. And it's so obviously not what happened. So they would have been much better off, though, had they not drawn from that key cycle and were able to find one at a different time that was not operating at such high speeds.
Yeah, because if you think about it, you're right. Have you ever pressed the accelerator down 75% in reverse in your life for any reason? You would never do that. I mean, I'm sure there's one reason, but like, I can't think of. You always go slow, and you're always doing it at that rate. And of course, they say, well, not when you're trying to hit someone, but even so, it's going to be impossible to hit someone at 75% accelerating at 24 miles an hour, and you're controlling the car. And we know she's most likely buzzed/drunk too, so that's not going to increase your ability to hit someone at that rate of speed. That's
and there's all kinds of other things too. Like it's on a curb. The whole lawn is on a curb. If she did actually do that, she'd be up like almost at the house on the lawn. But it is interesting. So I looked at Trooper Paul's testing. Maybe we might want to play that because it's in the videos that you uploaded. So I looked at that, and he is doing a lot of reversing events, right? So
I do want to look at that
in an open parking lot.
Right. Yeah. And how do we know when that key cycle was? I mean, like they're claiming that they know. We don't. I mean, Trooper Paul, I don't think he knows what a key is or a cycle, let alone a key cycle. I love the guy. I will never make fun of him. I love him.
Oh,
and like,
God.
I wonder what type of personality is outside of the courtroom. I'm being serious. Like, you know, because like a Tully's like a wannabe tough guy and like, you know, like more alpha. What do you think he is Trooper Paul if you're just hanging out with him at a bar or anywhere?
I think he's exactly the same.
Me too.
I think,
and he's
I
great.
think he's exactly the same.
Yeah,
Right.
I love the guy. Like there was no malice in his heart whatsoever. Like he tried his hardest. Like, there was some questions. I may even said on the video when Alan asked about just basic things like what is kinetics, and I was just like, good luck with that. There's no fucking way, because I don't even know, and there's no way he's gonna know.
No, it was. Oh, this poor guy. I mean, yeah, Alan Jackson just eviscerated him. I mean, it made everybody in the room. It must have been so uncomfortable to be in that room on that day at that time, because it was uncomfortable to watch. You just want to like crawl in a hole for him. It was so humiliating. But we got to point out too, though, there was a 9-4 jury, right? I mean, they did something right. There were people in that room on that jury that believed that she was responsible for that backing event.
Speaking of which, do we have to change the "Fuck You Hank" song to "Thank You Hank" now, based upon his latest victory? And if you don't know, Hank apparently won a big case on behalf of someone that Melanie Little was covering. I wasn't really into the case, but I had said from the beginning there was only one grandmaster trial attorney, and he's in a league of his own there, and that was Hank Brennan. I told you that from the beginning. I know people hated me for that, but he was, just based upon what I've witnessed. He was far better than Alan Jackson, David Yannetti, and Alessi's in a different category, but not necessarily the same, because Alessi's not used to fighting in this low level, middle class
Little
type
arena.
stuff that we're in. Yeah, exactly. Alessi you want in a different type of arena, but apparently now everyone loves Hank, and I'm glad for him, because in the end, a good trial attorney is a jockey. You ride the horse that you're given, and then you move on to the next race, and that's the way it is. It's not live all, die all by one case. And you see,
it seems like he
apparently
was negatively affected too by the case, from what we are able to extrapolate. So I'm glad to hear that he recovered and was able to move on and do well. Just you don't want to see anybody, do poorly in life generally. But he is a defense attorney, and I think that was part of the problem. I really believe that he just came off like a defense attorney, and I do think that they're very, very different. You have to wear the white hat. I do not think he did. I think from the beginning he acted as a villain, and it made him unlikable. And I would say it all throughout the trial. He's such an unlikable figure as the prosecutor. As the defense attorney, you need that. You need that unlikability, because you have to be like the bad guy that's, standing up in defense and pointing at the government and saying, you guys did X, Y, or Z. But to be the guy on the side of the government did not work. And I think just didn't work, period, for him.
Yeah, my only issue with him is that, again, your obligation as a prosecutor being different is something where he could have at any point in the middle of this trial said, we're dismissing this case. We're dismissing this case. We're dismissing all charges based upon what I'm seeing here. And I know he's smart enough to realize that Karen Reed did not strike John O'Keefe with the car. And I know he's smart enough to realize who and what did this. This guy has represented a lot of hardened criminals, and he understands men and fighting and the possibilities and what really causes this type of thing. And at some point, it would have been so heroic for him to dismiss these charges, and that is your legal, ethical obligation, not when you're defending someone, but when you are the prosecutor. And
right.
You're obligated to do that, in fact, and I think he should have done it at any point. That's
but
my issue with him.
He was so, I think, I don't want to say in bed, but so aligned with the family that I think Hank just felt like no matter what, he was going to defend on behalf of the O'Keefe family who support this theory. It was like, that's what mattered to him, whether or not Karen Reed did this. And that's the problem. I think these poor people get put, and I don't actually feel bad for him, but they get put into this position where, the family is aligned with the bad guys in this case. And that's a tragedy. I mean, that's really tough. I think that's what put the jury in a tough spot too. That's why she got convicted of the DUI, because at the end of the day, they felt like they had to get her on something, even if it was something small, because of the family.
Yeah, that's a good point too, but that's obviously not what they wanted. Did you see the hearing this week with regard to Karen Reed's cell phone?
Oh my God, how funny was that? Fervent did the greatest job, by the way, of analyzing it. It was so good, hilarious. that's pretty much sums it up. I mean, they walk in, the judge basically says nothing, says you guys, calls them to the bench, right? So they have a sidebar. That goes on for what, 20 minutes? Then they leave, they go out, they do something, they come back in, then there's another sidebar, and then eventually we get the Diller apology.
Right, which now the other side's claiming it's not an apology. It was just a retract. It is what you necessarily don't want to do, but you have to do it and you move on. Again, we all wanted to see fireworks. Alan Jackson's coming in. Nikki Haircuts is predicting all these big fireworks. A judge does not want to deal with this bullshit. I know we like to read all that. The judge read maybe one sentence in all this and brought the people to the side and said, you guys work this out. I'm not going to deal with it. And there's nothing you can do once a judge says that. And that's what the judge did. In fact, the biggest amount of time that we all spent initially was, did Karen dye her hair? Is it straighter? Did she cut the... That's...
It's so true. You're right.
All of us
we were like,
oh,
look at her haircut.
Yeah, initially I'm like, I don't like the hair. And Emily said she didn't like the hair, but then we kept watching and then we're like, oh wait, we do like the hair. And we spent more time analyzing Karen's hair. That's how superficial we all are behind the scenes. I'm sure other people are like that too.
Yeah. Everybody saw it, right? Everyone saw her hair. She looked great. I thought she looked beautiful.
Me too.
But there was nothing else going on, to be fair to all of us. Like, that's all we had to talk about, right? I mean, otherwise, like Fervin said, we're staring at the non-ceiling fan. So there wasn't really much else to talk about. So but to me, this guy, I mean, he's, I don't know how these cases continue to find the most evil seeming attorneys on the planet, but like Hank Brennan was so unlikable. Now they've got this guy Diller, who is just equally unlikable. And how is he, like, what was that about? What were you thinking? You just look like such an ass in the end. You knew. He must have known that's not what she's saying. Like, I mean, right?
If he was involved with it, and again, you're a plaintiff's attorney, which I have a major experience in what he does in this level, you have to be able at least to make sure what was said, because everyone hears it. You can't worry about necessarily being embarrassed, but you are wasting everyone's time. In the end, this is not going to affect the case at all, by the way. The judge, as you saw, doesn't give a shit about all the writings. They had so many motions going on for this one issue, and all he did was withdraw it. But the ultimate goal was to get Karen's phone before she gets possession of it, which if you were representing the estate, you would understand that too, right? You wouldn't want me to have possession of a phone before you get to download everything off it if you had a case against me, right?
Yes.
So that's really what is going on. I'm glad this judge handled it the way he did. It wasn't as great in terms of fireworks for us, but this is just what we get, because this is the reality of civil law. It's different than criminal law, where there's so much more procedure that has to be followed. A civil trial has a lot more leeway, and the judge's main goal, that judge that you watched there, that Italian judge that you saw there, because that's all they seem to have in Massachusetts. Every judge seems to be this white Irish guy, like that's like typical white stereotypical Irish guy. And I'm sure he's great. It had nothing to do with anything. But either way, his only objective is to get this case off the docket. It's crazy. So whether you settle it, which is what they want, whether he gets to dismiss it with the motion to dismiss, or the worst thing that happens is this goes to trial, because then you got to spend time and effort doing it.
Oh,
right? So their whole business model is to get this case done with, whatever it takes to get done with. But you see the importance, because these two parties are fighting with each other over words. They have motions, cross motions. I want to sanction him. I want attorney's fees. And you get to the judge, and he gets them to resolve it in what, 40 minutes, 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, eventually. Yeah. But so there is an importance to having some form of an authority, a father figure, whatever it may be, to get the parties in the same room and get it resolved.
Yeah. Why is this a different judge? I mean, what happened to the other judge that is the guy they've been seeing all along?
Yeah, I heard that judge retired. Now, I could be 100% mistaken, or this could be a different case. I'm not. So this is the original case that we were speaking about. Remember, there's multiple civil actions going on.
Case.
Right.
This was the
and I
O'Keefe
thought that
versus
this judge, right, and I thought this judge, the original one, had retired, but I can't qualify that. I'm not 100% certain. I don't think they use, sometimes they do with different judges for different motions and discovery, but this is most likely the judge that was assigned to the case. And for those
So
who
it
don't know, the
sounds
judges.
it's very interesting. Maybe you're right. Maybe he did eventually. That guy did retire. He must have. So where the hell was he?
I heard. I thought maybe even Fervin or someone was joking around how the judge retired after like a few months of dealing with this stuff. But it is interesting.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't blame him.
it's a tough case for the plaintiff in the sense that generally we on the plaintiff side want to have a case where we get as much money for as little work as possible because we're doing it on contingency. That means obviously
Right.
we're not getting paid unless we recover. So I don't know anything about Diller's firm, but like if I have a really large case and I go to my friend's firm who's got like maybe 100 attorneys, which is big for plaintiff's firm, they have the money to fund it. If it goes to trial, that's okay, right? So it depends on the firm too. A lot depends on the plaintiff's firm. So if you're going to try this case, you have to expend all the money. You have to pay for all the experts. Right? Like you have to put out all this money. So you have to be willing to invest into it. And you may get zero in return. So that's the business of what we're seeing now. And that goes for Karen as well. On Karen's side, when she hired those attorneys, I couldn't imagine her having to spend a dollar on experts. They would have to actually put forward the money for the experts, her attorneys, not her personally.
Interesting. So you're saying that the firm that Karen is using to go after the police and all of that, they are actually working on contingency. I don't think I realized that.
They should be. I mean, I would have had my firm that I work with that is a large firm, larger than what she has. And not to say that her counsel is good, but they would easily take this case, making sure that we don't get paid unless we recover, and we will advance all the fees. So the only thing we're not going to advance is for you to have Alan Jackson coming up here because he's not part of our firm. I get he's like a package deal, right? But he can share in the percentage at the end as the referring attorney because he's working on the case. But we're not paying him hourly, and that's not going to happen either. See, criminal attorneys don't make much money. Even Alan and Dave Unet, they don't make much money on these cases. What they do make money on is now having name recognition, and now they get involved in the plaintiff's cases as well. I don't know if you've heard of the term attorney Mark Garagos. He represented, so he was doing the criminal stuff, but we did like a large class action with him. And he does it, but we're doing like most of the work. This is back in the day. And that's where he's making the real money, like the bigger cases.
Because he's not doing the work anymore, is what you're saying.
He's doing it. I'm not saying he's not doing it, and I'm not saying that at all, but it's not criminal defense work. It's something totally different, like a tort class action that normally a normal criminal attorney will never get involved in. That's not their line of business. So the real money comes from when you get these bigger cases that you bring to other firms and work with them on things you would have done.
Interesting. Yeah, it makes sense. Because and I think that's part of what the Diller thing is, right? He knows that he's going to be, elevated to a higher status, higher profile because of all the attention and focus on this. It's got to be part of the thinking. Otherwise, I just don't see what the value would be really long term, because they may not get much. I mean, they might get something from the waterfall, maybe CF McCarthy's, but I don't see them getting much in the end here. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. Welcome, Tony Peg 1841. Thank you so much for being a new member. Welcome. IQ Ward sends $5, says, do we know why John went into 34 Fairview alone? Was he encouraged by the people who invited him, or was it a decision that he and Karen made? This is a great question. And I think there's some controversy around this question, honestly. I think some of us recently, and Vince, you can kind of follow up on this too. I think some of us recently have concluded perhaps there was a fight taking place inside that car, and that part of the reason why Karen didn't go in was because of that. Now, to this point, as far as I know, she said a few things, but to this point, mostly Karen has claimed that she didn't go in because she was waiting for John to go in first and then like call her or text her and say, yeah, it's cool, there is a party here, come on in.
This is a huge question now. Excuse me. And the issue was initially, she said in the HBO documentary, it didn't look like there was a big soiree going on. So I said, John, you go in and check it out. That's what she said. And I understand that. If you pull up to some place where you don't know and it's dark, and she said that it's dark, there's no lights on. But I've completely have changed my potential hypothesis with regard to what actually happened. I don't necessarily believe that that's the full truth by Karen. There is now a new text message that we've seen where she referenced the fact that part of the reason she didn't go in now was because she was starving. And I get that aspect too. After a day of drinking, really you don't want to go to some random, but you want to go home, you want to eat like the best food. It's the best thing in the world. Like your objective is to eat. So I get that, but she never said that initially to us. So I know it may sound flippant, but it is different than looking in there. And she did say partially fine. But now that we know that Brian Patrick Higgins and her were flirting, they were talking, they were communicating, and it very well could be that Brian Patrick Higgins is saying, come here to Karen Reed, and then John picks it up at the end, and you pointed out something that I've never seen before, but it's so critical. John does do a fighting motion, not just the dancing, which could be potentially a Muhammad Ali type, who was a boxer type dancing, but also this. There's no question that something in that last discourse revolved around fighting. And
so let me pull
now,
that up for people. Go ahead. No,
how'd you find that, by the way?
So this is a funny story. Immediately following our Monday, people, I had jotted down some times because people in the chat had suggested to take a look at different things. And I was looking at for those details, those timestamps. And I just sat and stared and said, you know what? I don't think I've ever really watched closely what happens after this. So I just kept watching way after the Alberts had walked out, and I saw it. I just happened to see it. I mean, this is the thing about the evidence in this case. Like, this is look, how many times have I listened to Julie Nagel, and all of a sudden I'm listening the other day and I realized what she said. And I'm like, did she just say that he went up the stairs and let the dog out? Like, that's completely different than what I had, because I had superimposed what I thought she was trying to say onto her speech. Right. So this is so important, though. I mean, when I saw this, because I think what you and I have been trying to figure out, and this is what you sort of tasked this a long time ago. You were saying, because originally, even when I first sort of met you, you were saying, where is the spark? Like, where is the moment where Higgins originally gets upset, right? And starts kind of getting into the threatening mode. Now the question is different. Now the question is there a moment where John gets upset? Maybe John walks into that house hot and looking to fight, right? So that was sort of how we were looking at this. So I was also looking at that video to see whether or not he's seeing Brian Higgins flirting with Karen, or does he look angry? Like, does he see that push? Right now, there are people who have since messaged me saying that they think he does. We also have people saying that they think Kevin Albert came into the bar. So I did take some screenshots of that. I difficult to say, could be, certainly, but I don't think he hangs out very long. If he does, he makes an appearance, then he's gone pretty quick.
Yeah, so you bring up this good point. We watched this video, and while you get the video, fine. All of a sudden, I'm getting all these messages, and there's a mystery man looking at the group. And I don't know if it has anything to do with anything, but I've never seen this guy at all, ever. Who the hell is this? I thought maybe someone was doing some fucking AI, putting just a random guy looking at the crew. And I don't think he has anything to do with necessarily anything, but you never know. It is so fascinating to watch this video. So there could be a world where John O'Keefe, who now knows Brian Higgins ghosted him for 14 days. You see that they're standoffish after the initial. You see now once his girlfriend is bending over and pushing Brian in a playful manner, and Brian does that talk to her. He hears that. And then as Brian Higgins is leaving, he's basically saying, he could be saying, come outside, not to fight, but to whatever. Give me more of what I need. It doesn't have to be hooking up, but just something. And John is the one that actually sees it. So there could be a world where it's John O'Keefe is going to this house for a fight. Yeah. And Karen Reed very well knows it too. And that's the reason why potentially she's not been so open with us about Brian Higgins. And one thing we do see in all these text messages that they took from Aiden's phone is There's so little focus on Brian Higgins by Karen Reed. So little. Everything is Proctor, 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 Proctor. And we know Proctor does a horrible investigation. And we know he said the things about her. But he didn't kill John O'Keefe. Okay. And there's a very great chance Karen knew going there. Unfortunately, that John wanted to fight.
And the reason, this is y'all getting back to your question. The reason why Karen might not want anyone to know that John was going in hot is because it somehow could be looked at as incriminating. It gives her a motive too, right? And remember, the first trial, Lally's theory was that she did all this on purpose. So part of the reason why she would keep that a secret potentially, that they were fighting and they were fighting about Higgins, is because she doesn't want the prosecution to think that, because then it makes her more guilty.
Yeah, and I get that. And there's a great chance that's what she did, and it worked, obviously. And she wouldn't be guilty of any type of murder or anything whatsoever.
No,
so I get that she wouldn't want it, but it is suspect now based upon what we've seen. And I said I've changed my complete tune with regard to Brian Higgins and him leaving and him having to snap. And perhaps this was not anything aggressive towards John until it looks like John does see it while they're walking out. And that obviously coupled with what you saw is definitely something. And John keeps staring at Brian Higgins and Brian Albert making out. Like he even says something to him like right at the end, because these two are like so close to each other. And there's a psychological reason why Brian Higgins is doing that. And I don't think Brian Albert is even aware of this. He's just sort of goofy and drunk and whatever, the alpha guy that they're all trying to groom. Yeah. So, all right, what do we got now?
Let me pull it up. So I think I'm just going to pull up the whole thing. I was going to pull up the clip, but I think we should just pull up the whole thing because we could also try to find the Kevin Albert character here. All right, let me bring it up. There we go. Everybody can see that, right? Okay. So the Kevin Albert figure shows up, I believe, at, was it 11:33? Let me take a look.
I have no idea. I just saw stills of it. I never saw the guy in my life.
He's wearing, I mean, it does kind of look, certainly it could be him. He does go over to John for a quick second. I mean, it's so weird. Like, I tried to trace where he even comes from. Maybe there's a back door that he came through because I didn't see him. That's him. So this is the guy. You see him in the foreground here with like the black jacket, and his back is to us. This is the person that people suspect might be Kevin Albert. Let me play it and see what you guys think. So he is talking to them. He's talking to John. John points at him and then he leaves. And that's like the extent of it. I mean, he's not there long. Let me just go back a few seconds and see if he's there much longer than that. Like, it's almost like, where did this guy just come from all of a sudden?
Could he have been part of the band or the staff that was leaving?
Yeah,
I mean, who knows who he is? Yeah, I mean, again.
Sure. I don't think he was part of the band, but who knows who he is?
It was just odd to see someone randomly new. Now, we do need to have the zoomed in view if we're going to watch John, because this is the only unfortunate thing is this, we can't really zoom in.
I know. It is unfortunate.
You did get that clip somehow zoomed in.
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up.
Yeah.
Let me show you where it is first, because it's after they leave. So it's the lights are on, which is helpful. Certainly, when the lights are on, you have a much better view of everybody, which is very, very helpful.
Here comes the shot. Is Higgy intentionally looking away during that shot for some reason? When they're doing shots, he's like totally looking to the left for some weird reason.
Well, I think Brian is talking. Isn't Brian Albert like doing the toast here?
Oh, yeah, true.
So I think Brian Albert is like, I don't know if he's rallying people together to do the toast, but he's saying something. Because Karen is talking to him directly too. Yeah.
And one thing I also didn't realize is how much Jen McCabe was all over John O'Keefe. And even Matt, they were doing that group hug. And there's something to that there. I'm not saying that they're hooking up, but she definitely would hook up with John if given the chance.
She definitely has a crush on John. I've always felt that way, just based on everything we see from her. Yeah, I mean, that's why I think, I don't think she wanted to see anything bad happen to John, right?
Yeah, no. That's why I
Certainly.
nicknamed her Precious Angel. Now, in the back, you see, like, if Brian Higgins was your boy for all this time and then you haven't spoken to him for 14 days, something has to be in your mind that something is up. And then you see your girlfriend flirting, and I don't know if he was recognizing Higgins keep looking over the hood thing and then waiting around for Karen, but he possibly could have.
He could have had an eye on it in a way we don't see. Now he's on the phone. Is he on the phone there? I never noticed that before.
He's on near the 54.
Yeah, he's in the back.
And he's gonna come back eventually because they're about to leave here.
Yep, they're about to leave, and then it's pretty significantly. I want to say it's 5 minutes after that. So let me just forward a little bit.
Okay.
This is long. John goes right because it looks like he's closing up, but actually he grabs another beer.
Yeah, and he's talking to the guy from the band, and then his buddy just walk. It would be odd for me if you just like walk out if we were friends. He does the hood thing again, then he starts the pointing.
And at this point, right, we've already seen Karen do the touching, obviously, because they're leaving
it's already
now.
been done. See.
All right.
God, man, you got to think that Higgins is waving at Karen.
It does look like he was waving at Karen.
Yeah, he doesn't know anyone else there. But then John turns around. Then he sees them. See, like, it's almost as if John catches him signaling.
I think he signaled to both of them, honestly. I think he was first signaling. Yeah, so there's the little dance, but he does it again. So that was the part that I was looking for because somebody in our chat had suggested to go look for that. Sublime, I think it was.
Right, and he does call Chris Albert over with that. He's squaring up the tab now.
Yep. And I don't remember the exact timestamp, so I don't want to miss it. But I have both videos, so I can pull up the zoom in also. So it's weird. It's like, I mean, that's pretty strange. I don't know what to make of it, but it's strange. Those guys have already gone. Think about what happens to John on this night. 20 minutes before he's about to lose his life, he's like, fake punching. I don't know.
Yeah. No, you do know because, again, we're looking at some of the few people on the entire earth that could have killed him are there right now, right? Because there's only 10. I mean, you can include Karen in there, right? If you want to include her, include her. There's only 10. But you can see Matt McCabe and Jen McCabe. They are so friendly with those two. They
love them.
Right. There's no animosity whatsoever. Because the initial theories that I was hearing is that they was trying to lure John back, this meaning Jen McCabe and Matt, to harm him. I just can't put any weight in that anymore. But John's by himself right now, and Karen's talking to, is that Karina or Jen?
It's Karina. Okay. Jen is over next to Chris.
I wish Nick the Greek would know more, considering he's right fucking there. He should know more. He's not an idiot. He's an attorney. Well, I guess anyone could be an attorney.
I wish we could. I mean, Karina probably has more information too. Just she's right there too.
What I noticed is that Karina was definitely more of the social
here it is.
butterfly.
Wait, time out. Hold on, wait. So here it is. So first he does, so I'm going to just pause it. So first he does the little dance that we just saw earlier. And then if you keep watching him, it's 12:01:35. So he's doing the little dance again. There it is. You keep your eyes on him. So he's saying, there it is.
Yeah, 12:01:42. Was he talking to Chris Albert when he was doing this?
Yeah, I think he's talking to Chris and Jen, and Matt is there too.
I think like only Chris, because Chris was sort of in the middle of when he's grabbing the arm. Again, it may be unrelated, but I understand when this happens, you pull a guy over. You don't pull a girl over and say, oh, this guy's being an asshole, I want to fight with him. You would pull a guy like Chris, sort of your friend, and say like, oh, I would whip his ass if he ever tried anything. Because this is more of a projection thing, that you're sort of a peacocking thing on his level, saying like, that guy can't fuck with me, I would whip his ass. If
Feels like it
what
could
we're
be,
seeing
right?
is true. Well, yeah. I mean, what else could it be? You're not going to do that. You're not going to do this because you're dancing. You're doing it because you're indicating that you can fight.
Yeah, it's
But
weird.
again, he's the one that's confused, though. Karen knows that this is a possibility. He's doing it right there. He doesn't know that these two met privately behind his back. I mean, he knows
That's
that
true.
he hasn't spoken to his friends for 14 days and that he just left without saying goodbye, except for this to his girlfriend. The
That's a
big
good
difference
point.
in mindset. Now,
Yes,
Karen's
he
drunk,
does
but
not
she
know.
knows she's not dumb. She understands what guys will do. I mean, she's doing it on purpose. She loves the attention she's getting from Brian because she
Yes.
claims she's not getting it from John.
Well, and by the way, to your point earlier, the only text that she does mention, or the only thing in the text that we do get from Karen about Higgins is that he was like all over her all the time, right? Wasn't that what she says?
Yeah, so the girls uncovered the text following the pizza text saying that Higgins was all over her. She never put a pinky on him, which we know is not true. She's the one that planted the kiss on him, which is obviously critical. And also she put her whole hand on Brian Higgins that night that we saw.
Yeah, it's so bizarre that nobody ever brings that up on either side. I mean, that's so bizarre. How does
They
nobody
didn't
ever
see it, Sam.
any of this?
They didn't see it because you don't have the time. You should have the time, but you don't. When you're a small little law firm like an Allen Jackson and David, they don't have all the resources that we do. They have lives. Like we have no lives. We're sitting here on Valentine's Day looking at their video. None of us have gotten any action since Valentine's Day. We're still watching these videos. It's true, though, unfortunately.
They're so funny.
Sad, but true.
They're so funny. All right, let me just pull this up. So I'm gonna stop this, and then let me pull up the close-up so you can see it a little bit better. Nope, we're not doing that. I also have the Trooper Paul.
I do want to take a look at. He can always lighten your day, Trooper Paul.
He can. He's hilarious. He is. He really, really is. Right.
He really is.
He really is.
I fucking love
All
Trooper
right.
Paul.
Here we go. Is this it? The waterfall restored? No. I think it's this one. Okay, hold on. Let me pull it up. Play. Let's make it bigger. All right.
It's still us on the screen.
Yeah. There we go. All right.
There we go.
So here it is. And let me just rewind it and play it here for us. Yes, I mean, he's laughing, I think. But
Two things are going on. Either he's making fun of those guys who were acting really gay. No offense to.
So. I don't think he is.
Or he's showing them I can whip their ass. Like, did you see those two think that they're fighting?
Yeah, I don't know.
I've been in both situations. Now, it doesn't mean that you're fully confident, but you are stressed on certain levels because no matter what, I don't know if you've ever been around fights before, but it stresses everybody around. Like all of a sudden everything stops. Especially as a guy, girls generally don't have to deal with this, but for a guy, everything stops. Dana White once said that the reason why the UFC is so successful is you can have a basketball game, but if a fight breaks out, everyone wants to watch the fight. In your whole life, like it's just like it's so raw and wired in us. And yeah, he's doing this for a reason. I think he eventually calls Chris Albert over at some point and to speak about what sort of just occurred.
Yeah,
and
it's so bizarre.
It would make sense that he's doing this and telling Chris Albert, because that's what guys love to do. We love to tell you how we would have kicked the guy's ass. He wanted to do it.
That's funny. That's funny. But he did this earlier. Like, this to me, it's that little, so people have tried to interpret the little dance he does. And to me, that's like the woohoo, like we're going out, like we're partying. I don't know how else to say it, right?
Yeah, like I think you're more of a party girl and you don't realize like this is more of a
fighting
could be a
thing.
potential. Yeah, because who used to do it is Muhammad Ali, one of the most famous boxers, obviously, would do that dance like that. And again, we're just speculating. We don't know for certain, obviously, but it is followed up with the
fighting.
actual, and
like
what he
that.
just, like there's, Now, I don't know if he understands what was going on. Does he know that Brian Higgins is willing to fight for this girl? And he's willing to go behind your back and make out with her and not tell you and keep sexting her for 14 days while he's ignoring you. I don't know.
Maybe
if
he doesn't
knows.
care, though. Like, maybe he just wants to beat him up because he's like, I don't know what's going on, but my girl's like touching this guy at the bar. Like, I don't know what's going on between them, but something's going on.
Yeah, and that will trigger guys. And obviously, like you said, with the alcohol involved, it has triggered me before in the past. Remember, I was dating this one girl, Kristen, and every time I left, the same situation. If I went and the bathrooms were upstairs, she would immediately go over and talk to my guy friends, or he would go over to talk to her. And I got so fucking enraged. I remember I was like 22 years old.
Sure.
And when I came down, I confronted him. And again, I don't know if anything was going on or not. And it probably wasn't. He was a good friend of mine. We were living together. And I actually know the guy. He's really nice. But it still enraged me. Whether it was rational or not, I still was enraged.
Totally.
Like thinking back, it's so stupid. But yeah, so don't ever underestimate that fact. And I don't know if the Irish are known for drinking and fighting, but maybe they are.
Oh, of course they are. Yes, of course they are. You're kidding. Music is to fight with John as TV was to Dan Markel. Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting sort of. Are those synonymous? Very interesting. The TV was to Dan Markel. I like it. It's interesting.
Music. But he's saying, but Lally and music? Because the only one really kept bringing up music was Lally and then Jen with the Raining Men.
No, they all bring they all bring it up. So like when you listen to each and every single person, every single one brings it up. Every single one. Caitlin, Brian Jr., Nicole, Brian Albert Sr., who did I miss out? Obviously, Jen, Matt brings it up. So it was clearly like a discussion point. And the challenge is, there's other reasons besides just the noise, although that's obviously why Lally wants to point it out. It's also why Hank wants to point it out, right? But it's not the only reason. From the people in the house's perspective, there's another incentive, and I think it's to try to move them somewhere else. Like they know the music is important, but they're being dishonest about where they are, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah, that's interesting. But remember also, though, they have a script, meaning the House defendants have a script. Lally is also reading a script. He's literally reading the question. So just because everyone brought up music, Lally's the one asking it, and he's asking it for a reason, and obviously the reason is to distract from the fact that no one heard a man getting hit by an SUV and an SUV at 24 miles an hour.
Yeah,
so
I think there's really other reasons too. Like he's trying to say that they're having a party and that the vibe was fun and celebratory, and not, someone didn't just get killed is really the other piece too. It's not Raquel, right? Raquel instead of Rachel? Raquel, I think. Raquel Ware, am I right? You have to tell us if that's how I should spell it. I love the name Raquel, so I don't know. Is that Raquel or Rachel? Since $5. I think they are cokeheads. That's so funny you just said that, because I had that thought in my head. They would be so unlikely because they're cops. Like maybe you do know, but just having worked a lot with the NYPD, when one of them is doing drugs, it is such a big deal. It is such a big deal.
Do they drug test cops?
Of course they do. They do hair follicle tests. They do. They actually do. They do different types of tests. So they do like the no joke hair follicle testing. And like I had a client once this is at the NYPD, so I don't know if Boston is different, but like if you have a bald head, like a shaved head, they'll take it from like your hair, your leg hair. Like, no, it's a big discussion amongst cops, this whole thing. So I had one cop, because I was their drug counselor. So if anybody got in trouble with alcohol or drugs, then they were coming to me. Drugs, you're just fired immediately, though. Like it's do not pass go. You're just immediately let go. Alcohol, obviously, that's a different story. If you go to like any, St. Patrick's Day parade anywhere in the world, or anywhere in New York or Boston, it's going to be a lot of drunk cops. But drugs are like fucking forbidden and really looked down upon. So that would be an enormous big deal if those guys were doing drugs.
Samantha Benigno worked for Howard Stern in the Howard 100 News department as an intern. One of the people that worked there was Shuli Egar. I'm not sure if you remember him.
I do remember Shuli, sure.
Shuli loves marijuana, and he doesn't have any hair. He's bald. And before he moved to New York, he got a job as a blackjack dealer in Vegas. That's where he lived. And his friends told him to shave your head so that you can pass the drug exam. And then he gets there, and they find out that they pluck a hair from his arm. And then, of course, they wait. And they gave him the job, I think, initially. But then weeks later, it comes back that tested positive for marijuana. I didn't realize that either. I thought that if you didn't have any hair in your head, you couldn't actually get any. He may have even dyed it green, the hair, like something stupid, everything to do with the top of the head, but not to do with the arm or legs. And I'm so dumb, I didn't realize you could do that at all.
Oh, they'll take it from, if you have no hair, they'll take it anywhere they have to. Like, they don't mess around. You don't want to be, these big bureaucratic law enforcement agencies are just not playing games. Like, they don't mess around at all, especially not if drugs are a conversation. I don't know about marijuana now, because in Massachusetts, for example, that's legal. So I don't know how the police department is handling any of that. That's an interesting question, though. But they act like cokeheads, so I certainly understand that idea. But it is so taboo in the police department that would be an enormous scandal if they were doing those kinds of drugs.
Yeah,
Hope for justice. Go ahead.
So I have very little experience with cocaine. The first time I saw it was in law school. My friend Dan Kay did it, and it was not a big issue to me, but it was the first time I ever saw it. And then really like the last time I ever saw it too, except for maybe one other time, but I never did it. And it is a huge jump between, like, say, smoking pot, which I've never done, and drinking, which I have done, and doing cocaine. Even the fact, because like I have to get it. Like, it's not as like you have to have a drug dealer, and if you're a cop and you're busting drug dealers, it seems sort of hypocritical. I know that cops do it. I'm not naive.
I mean, you could get it. I'm sure they could get it, but from even like wherever they put drug confiscations. I mean, Brian Albert was involved with like undercover stuff, so he would have been, if anybody in the police department had it, he could have access to it. I think he certainly acts like he has the personality of somebody who would be a cokehead, like totally.
Really? See, I would say no. I would say maybe drinking, not coke, but I don't know.
That's funny that you say that. Because he's like aggressive and like he's a drinker, and those are the people that usually are really into cocaine. You're always drinking. You have to be drinking because it just amps you up so extremely that you need some central nervous system depressant to bring you down. Cocaine is the worst drug on the planet. It really, really is, because what it does is it operates on the dopamine system solely. And so it gives you all this motivation, like you really it's super intense, but you can't feel joy because it's not operating in like the endorphin center, and it's operating in the dopamine center. So you just feel incredible intensity, but it's like you can't even get a smile. It's like you're just amped out of your mind. So
Sounds amazing.
I could see it's terrible. It's like the worst drug, and then it makes your whole body like you snorted pepper. Your whole face is on fire. It's a terrible drug. It's absolutely horrible. Anyway. So as drugs go, it's the worst one. But I understand where she's coming from. I could see why you would say that. But I just think it's so risky. And he was an active Boston cop at the time. It's like really looked down upon on a police force. So it's big. That would be a big question.
I love the hypocrisy, though, because we look down upon that. But drinking is perfectly fine, I guess, on some level. So it's all poison, it's all chemical, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying I don't do any of it, but I'm just saying like it is hypocritical that we don't allow some, but we allow others. Really silly. You have no idea how silly, but people are people. Right. It is what it is, right? So Hope for Justice 26 sends $10 of some kind. Lally fluffed around trying to confuse people with the timeline, saying that Brian Albert had gone upstairs after Brian Higgins had left at 1:30, even had Brian Albert watching some TV up there all before.
That's funny. Ryan pulled up. That's interesting. I'll have to go back and listen to that. That is very interesting. So Brian Albert has himself like getting ready for bed by the time Julie's brother shows up. Is that what we're saying here?
I've never
That's
heard
funny.
that, but I get what you're saying because there is a point where they're asking Brian Albert Jr. as to, is your dad upstairs? Is he waiting around for Brian Higgins? And there is definitely contradiction / I don't know where he really is. And eventually he breaks down and says, I don't know where Brian Albert was when we're all looking out the window. And that's important because we know that now it's 12:24, 12:25, and everyone's looking out that window. So you would either see John O'Keefe laying on the ground if he did it then, or you would have seen something with regard to him getting out of the car, walking around, something, because everyone's looking out there, assuming he got out of the car.
Saying they're looking out there, but yes.
Yeah, now Kevin is claiming he doesn't get out of the car to 12:32, and that's where the movement of the iPhone starts, and it ends, just 25 seconds later. And look, that's something that we have to deal with. Like, was John O'Keefe sitting in the car the entire time?
Right.
And then, what's weird? Like, you've been there, but if you're Jen McCabe and you're looking out the door, can't you see who's in the car?
Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm.
Like, wouldn't you see John in the car? Because it doesn't seem like she wasn't really questioned as to who she saw in the vehicle. She was always questioned about where the car was, and I know they were hyper-focused on how the car moved, but who did you see in the car?
She says she doesn't see who's in it. She does. Yes, she is.
Interesting.
She's asked first, did you see anybody in the car? She said no. She says no. I couldn't see anything. And she said, but she could tell that the car was, I've studied these testimonies so much. She says that she could see the car is on because she could see the red lights on the car. But she never saw it move. She only sees that it starts in one place and then it ends in another place. That's what she says. But, I doubt. Brian Jr. tells us that Jen is nowhere near the windows. Brian Jr. tells us that Matt's the one getting up and looking at, so it's just the silliness of everybody in this house is just silliness.
But Sam, I can't forget, though, of course, we know for certain John's not in the vehicle when the kids drive by in Ricky's Ford F-150.
Right.
So that's before 12:32, Kevin. So you got to square that in your theory. Where is John between 12:26 and the time those kids drive by?
My thing is, how does Julie Nagel know that John and Karen pulled up before her brother?
How does she know? Well, everyone said that they saw the car pull up first. How does she know?
She's the one that says, she actually gives us a different story.
Right.
No. So she tells us, I can't remember exactly how she frames it, but whatever everybody else is saying, she actually gives us the opposite story. She
100%.
thinks that John and Karen are gone by the time Ricky pulls up.
Yeah, right.
Right.
100%. And I always chalk that up to her just being dopey and drunk at the time.
I know, but she actually gives
really
us a lot of good information. Julie Nagel is the worst liar the world has ever known. So she gives us like a tremendous amount of information. And you can't not consider that the dog may have truly been in the basement. Now, I don't know that they were in the basement, but she tells us that Brian Albert goes upstairs with the dog and lets the dog out back. To me, I've always thought it was odd that the dog wasn't in the basement, because for me, if I had that dog, the basement, you have more room to roam, and it's a big dog. And Brian Albert's a dog owner. Like, he's not he's going to know the best place for that dog at that time is in the basement where he has more room, right? So to me, it never made sense that he was in the bedroom upstairs to begin with.
Well, if Chloe always slept in the bedroom with them, then I would say it would be natural for her to be in more of a confined environment, not roaming around a basement.
It's a long time though. Brian Albert was gone all day. I don't know. I just, to me, that was, she screws up, and that's not the only time. Julie screws up in major ways on multiple occasions. She's the world's worst liar. So it's really, really interesting. And then because she insists upon giving us that blob story at the end, which is just really, just truly nonsense, we actually have real clear, and it's at the end, remember, it's not the beginning, it's the very end, which gives us, after all of this baselining, all this BS, or what looks to be BS, then we get the true, absolutely contrived story. So we get all of our indicators. Then you take all those indicators and you go back through everything, and it's like just fits perfectly. Now, obviously, we can see where there's deception, and we get some threads of where the truth is with her. But the question is, like, how do we put all this together, right? And to me, Sarah Levinson and Julie Nagel are the key, because they're the two that made the defense team assume John never goes in that house, or that they never see him go in, because everybody figures, oh, there's no way that like these two, saw John get beat up in the house. And, it's so hard for even them to believe that they felt it was a better strategy to make it, however, build a scenario where John goes into the house without being seen by the majority of the people in the house, which I
bring up a
completely
great
understand.
point,
Go
because
ahead.
I'm in that camp, and I still am. I was like, there's no way these two sweet
But
girls.
they do. I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
I know. Like, I still have that bias where there's no way that
I
a
know.
nurse who's talking about her shoes and the mom and the wrong shoes because she's gonna slip in that cute little story. I fell for it, and I'm still
know.
falling for it.
I
But
know.
to me, I'm not focused on that yet.
I know you're not.
You know,
But when
Emily's
you
so
are,
mean. She
it'll
always
be
wanted
very
me to
obvious.
say Emily's mean because she wanted me to say that Julie Nagel saw the blob, and she always wanted the title of the video to be Blob Sees Blob, and I wouldn't do
that's
it.
mean.
I'm just not as mean as Emily is.
That is mean.
It is,
Listen,
Emily.
I have a lot less sympathy. So, okay, two things happened before I could get there the way you're describing. I had the same bias. Then I saw that video outside of CF McCarthy's where Julie is an enforcer, just like the rest of the boys that are also out front. Like, she's as much in Albert as anybody else on the planet. She bleeds whatever color they bleed. She is as much. Think about it, right? Like, the one person that Matt has in his head when they walk in, Julie, oh, it was like the greatest night. Julie was so happy to see us. Like, wait, what? Why would, she's that close that even Matt McCabe walks in the house and the first thing he thinks to say is like, Julie was so excited we were there, right? I mean, so just that's how close she was. She was very, very tight with Brian Albert Jr. and had been part of the family already. Sarah, though, is also very tight with them, because when you do some investigating, and this comes out more on Cross with Yannetti, does a good job of pulling this out of her. I think Yannetti trial 1 and Jackson trial 2, she knows not only Brian Jr., she knows the entire Albert clan, all of the kids. She knows all of the siblings on the Brian Albert siblings. There's 4 of them. Then she knows the Collins family. She went to school with Collins' older brother. Like, she knows everybody in this, all the cousins. So there's no way this kid is going up against them. Not on any planet, not ever. So to me, she wouldn't even sit down and have a conversation with the defense.
What would have happened if Ricky pulled his truck over and said, all right, we'll come in for a drink?
It's a great question.
Like, what does he see when he walks into that house? Does he
Whatever
see
it
John?
is, probably not good.
Does he pass John on the side of the house, and or as you're proposing that John is in the house somewhere?
John is in the house. I mean, I really, really want him not to be, but he is. He's in the house.
Yeah, and based upon our knowledge with the phones, knowing that there's no 3 flights up and down because he wasn't at the house yet, he can go down a flight without any recording of a flight, assuming he has his phone with him.
That's true.
That's assuming he has his phone with him. The only issue is getting it back up would potentially be a flight, maybe, unless, of course, they're carrying him, and I don't know if that would register or not? Probably would, in terms of
It doesn't. I don't think. Sorry, I don't think the carrying registers. I think we established that at some
the
point.
steps. I'm just not sure about the actual elevation change upwards, because supposedly if you're in a car, but it may not, especially if you're only being carried. You know, that would. It's not as if you're walking in and vibrating it. Yeah, so
yourself.
It's definitely different. So remember, starting this trial, everybody thought there were 3 flights. So they were thinking, all right, he either went down, up from. In fact, Alan's theory was that Brian Higgins and Brian Albert fucked up with regard to showing people upstairs the pictures of Jack from the Marines. So remember the questioning by Alan to Brian Higgins: if you start downstairs and you go up one flight, where would you be? Like Higgins has no clue what to say. Yeah, he wanted to say you guys were in the basement and you went upstairs to look at the pictures. That because now we know for certain that there wasn't the 3 elevation changes. You don't have to worry so much about that. So it very well could be that he was in the basement and the phone wouldn't register any type of elevation change because it has to go up, not down.
Right. That's right. Yep. Yeah, he could have been. He could have been in the basement. I mean, they all could have been. I mean, for all we know, there was a bar down there at that time. I mean, I don't know. I know that that's a place where the kids did hang out when they were younger in high school and stuff. As far as we can see, it doesn't look like a place that you'd want to hang out, right, with a party.
Right.
Maybe,
I don't think so.
I don't think so
you
either.
have to remember, Precious Angel had her watch on her. She didn't have any elevation changes until she got to her house.
Right. So she wasn't going up and down stairs.
Right.
Is what you're saying.
It's important because maybe you would see that if she knew that there was something going on in the basement, you'd see her at least go down then up one. You didn't get that.
Yeah, I don't think they were. I think they're in the family room. I mean, I don't think that they were. The dog, though, may have been in the basement. And that's which makes the whole thing even stranger. If the dog is in the basement, why is there such a need to not tell us that? Who gives a shit, right? I mean, these are the things I don't understand about these people and why they feel the constant necessity to just completely make up stories about what was going on. If you even have a portion of this night that you can draw from to give us something true, why wouldn't you do that? Instead, we just get like rehearsed silliness over and over again. I don't understand that. It's so bizarre to me. Let me read this. So Mr. G 70 sends $5. Hi, Mr. G. J.O. is suspicious of KR and BH. They both know it. So KR avoiding BH is fine for both. The text is Brian Higgins connecting in his way. Like, well, what are we doing? Yeah, I would agree with that. Sure.
Yeah, no, I understand why Brian sent that text message. But you have to remember, it was after that message, not necessarily because of the message, that he got exactly what he needed for that night. And that's all I would need is just for you, if you and I are having an affair and your Adonis husband is there at the place, I'm not going to be all over you. We're not going to make out. But all I need is one touch from you. And he got that at that time after. So that's all you need. And of course, Brian is saying, come here after the fact. He got what he needed. That's how affairs work, and that's how affairs should work. And affairs are dangerous. Affairs are deadly. We see that in almost every single case. They're great for the mind, but they are deadly. They are great.
That's so true.
I mean, my friends tell me they're great, and I don't know, but my friends tell me how great they are. But they can end in murder.
I mean, that's what we're seeing, apparently, right? I mean, that seems like it might be what happened in this Richens trial, too. It's true that, like, they get people really, really upset, obviously. It's craziness. It's really craziness. Hope for Justice 26 sends $5 some kind of dollars. What if John saw Brian Higgins' unwell message, could have, on Karen's infotainment in the car on the way to the Alberts? Yeah, could have. I think Karen, honestly, I don't think Karen, if I remember correctly, I don't think she had it set up. I don't think she had it set up. I think that's part of the reason, like, why the GPS, like, we didn't, how they didn't pull the GPS up through the car. I think a lot of information that we didn't end up getting from Karen, like the location data, was because it wasn't synced up.
And this is an important
from what I remember
thing for people who are having affairs. Probably about 50% of people, maybe more, that are watching right now in this thing are having. You have to be careful with connecting your text messages to your phone if you're driving, especially when you're driving with kids and everything else, because I've seen this happen. I've been caught when I was first engaged, just by my girlfriend getting my phone, right? But this is different now because different age where the texts are coming in. If you connect them to your phone,
iPad, car,
yeah,
all this other.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to test
Absolutely.
your husband or wife, tell them to connect on a long drive just to see whatever comes up and see if they
Connect your
hesitate or
phone.
not. Yeah. All of a sudden, I don't know how to do that. I can't connect things like this.
so funny.
And we saw that in the Adelson case where Jeff Lacasse, who's just such a nice guy but a sucker, and Wendy was using him.
Absolutely,
He found out Wendy was cheating by going through her GPS history, and she kept going to hotels in
Yes,
Orlando.
That's right.
And like, well, why are you going to a hotel in Orlando when you're supposed to be down in with your parents?
right,
So you got to be careful with that too, everybody.
That's so funny.
My friends tell me.
That's very funny. Lika G sends $1.99 just to say, hey guys, to both of you. Love you both. I think that says, well, hi. Thank you so much for your support.
you.
We are happy that you are here. Ginny is here. Hi, Ginny. Sends $4.99. How many drinks did John have? Good question. I think he had many beers, many beers. It's a great question. We should try to answer that question, right? We should really stop to try to figure that out because he always has a beer. So it doesn't even dawn on me to like actually stop and say, hey, how many times does he switch that one out, right? John was the aggressor. He was punched, and Brian Albert and Brian Higgins left him there in the house, not knowing he died. They realized it too late. Interesting theory. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can count the beers that John had, and I forgot how much beer can sort of get you drunk because the one night I went out with in the past like 6 months, we only were drinking beer, and I'm looking back at the live streams that I was doing, and I was definitely drunk, and I was just drinking beer. I didn't have one shot. I don't drink any hard alcohol, no wine, nothing.
Oh my God, you guys were doing live streams. I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Oh yeah, we live streamed the entire night from Rodney's comedy club. Now, comedians generally don't want their sets to be videoed, but this was part of the hijinks that we were in. Yeah, so we live streamed Stuttering John's set, and it was fun. Everyone used it. You know, things. The only thing that went viral that night is Anthony Cumia saving some guy, like a spider went on some guy's glasses. Anthony ripped the glasses off and slammed the glasses down to save the guy's life. After the guy was calling him a PDF file and all this, but Anthony did save his life by ripping the glasses off and slamming him to the ground. That's the only thing that went viral from the night. Apparently, the New York Post still prints papers because we were in page 6 for that event.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. That is very funny. How funny.
Have
Yeah.
you seen a newspaper around here in a while?
I don't look for them, but I know that they're there. My father's a big newspaper guy, so I know that they exist, but I don't look for them anymore, right? There's newspaper stands though in the city still.
There are. I just haven't seen a newspaper like physically.
Yeah, I know. You
In a
think
while.
they would be obsolete, right? We just realized, is there anything else? Yeah, I don't know if they realized it too late because to me, it was so lethal so fast. They would have known it. And if anybody knew that that injury to John's head was the death blow, they would have known it because they were, you know, tactical medics and high-level law enforcement. Mackenzie sends $4.99. KH's involvement or lack of is so suspicious given the place in the hierarchy of the FAM and the PD. Lally called everyone except the band and KH. That's interesting. So KH's involvement.
First, who's KH? I just testing.
Is this KH?
I mean, I know, but I don't want to say.
So wait a minute.
I don't know.
First, I thought this was Karina,
Kevin.
but it's not Karina, right?
Okay, I thought it was Kevin Albert.
No.
Mackenzie, text Corey and let us know what KH is.
KH's involvement is so suspicious given the place in the hierarchy of the FAM and the PD. It must be Kevin. It must be Kevin Albert, right?
No, but she wouldn't make the H. H is nowhere near A. She wouldn't make the mistake twice.
Has to be because who else? Karina was in the bar, but she does not have an H last name.
Yeah. I just keep thinking Kevin Hart, but I don't think he was.
It has to be Kevin Albert though, because given the place in the hierarchy of the family, and the police department. And there's only a handful of people who are in the family and the police department, right?
Now don't care what it said. I'm obsessed as to what KH is stand for because I'm looking for the K. Maybe the K is wrong, but no, but it was written, typed twice.
It's
KH.
gotta be. Well, okay,
I don't even know
we're
what
gonna have to.
H.
Mackenzie, tell us in the chat who you're talking about. I think you mean Kevin, though. Kit Gracie has been a member for 4 months. Thank you so much, Kit. It's nice to see you. Have you been able to check out the faked waterfall parking lot video? It was only in trial 1. It's saved in my public playset. Oh, I will have to take a look at that. A fake.
What's fake about
waterfall parking lot video? That's interesting. I wonder what is fake about it. Yeah. The only parking lot videos I've seen are the ones with the flag blowing. Right? So they all have that stupid flag, the white flag waving. But I'll definitely take a look.
I mean, you set up a surveillance camera. And you're like, all right, let's make sure that nothing's in the way except for this flag that's right in the way.
I know. She did.
I love Canton.
Okay. She did mean Kevin Albert. We thought so. Okay, so that it definitely makes sense. Well, and Brian calls Kevin several times the next day, so he's involved the next day on the phone with Brian Albert, and we know he's the one that's joyriding with Michael Proctor. He's the one getting drunk with the gun, right? Leaving the gun, losing his gun and badge. Out in Sandwich, Massachusetts, which I've always thought was just beyond suspicious that these two are suddenly on a cold case together. It makes no sense at all. So, you know, I agree with you.
Kevin Albert's the wild card to me because we don't know him. I don't know what he looks like, right? Have you ever seen him testify?
Yeah. We've seen what he looks like, though. I mean, we know what he looks like. Looks like the guy that we saw there, but go ahead.
Yeah, like I want to see him. I want to hear him. I know he's a huge factor because he's working at the actual Camp Police Department. He obviously grew up at 34 Fairview, right, with the rest of the Alberts. So he's got a huge connection there. He is a wild card. I've always had Chief Berkowitz being the one that was able to facilitate the planting of the taillight. It could be Kevin Albert. Obviously, he has a connection to the two. We always blame Berkey, but it is suspect. Can we take our halftime break now?
Yes, it could absolutely be, by the way, Kevin Albert. That is such a good point.
That'll give Mackenzie time to text Corey now.
Excellent. Thanks, Mackenzie. You're the best. All right. So for the break today, I was thinking about maybe playing this. This I found this for some reason. YouTube saved the text stream data video that you had made a while back. It's about 3 minutes, but I thought it might be interesting to play. This is the Microdots text stream, just because we had been talking about the text stream. So I think we'll go with that. How's that sound?
Cool. And we'll see you back in a few minutes.
All right. We'll see you back in a few minutes. 3 minutes, everybody. 3 minutes. Let me get this up for us. I'm coming. You know, you got to like stop one thing and then bring up something else. And it's
tension of justice.
See, like that wasn't supposed to be there at all. All right, here we go, guys. This is what is an interesting thing to take a look at. So here we go. Let me cancel that so you don't have to see that anymore. There we are. Okay.
According to Commonwealth expert Judd Welcher, Karen Reed's Lexus was idling in position a short distance ahead of John O'Keefe, somewhere just beyond the flagpole. He claims she drove forward 34 feet and stopped. Fairview Road is typically quiet. In those conditions, the sound of an approaching vehicle speeding towards you wouldn't just be audible, it would be alarming. Welcher asserts that Karen pressed her foot down on the gas pedal, applying 75% of its full range, and accelerated toward John, reaching a speed of nearly 24 miles per hour, traveling a distance of well over 87 feet, striking his bent arm, causing the mismatched wounds, and projecting his body through the air or in some other way to its ultimate resting place just below the flagpole. The Commonwealth mostly glazed over this aspect of the collision, likely because it's the most unbelievable part of their theory. They provided no scientific evidence explaining how a taillight could produce the specific pattern of abrasions on John's right arm, how he sustained no broken bones or significant bruising, or how he managed to lock his phone after being incapacitated under this scenario. After the SUV travels 87 feet, the trigger event data ends, but the vehicle is still accelerating, with its last recorded speed being its highest.
It's still moving about 23 miles an hour, and you're still at 74% throttle and 3,300 revolutions per minute on the tachometer, RPM gauge.
It's not just still moving, it's still speeding up, and Karen is applying zero pressure to the brake, which is a major problem for one big reason.
Exactly where was your Jeep in front of that house?
By the mailbox. The back end of the Jeep would have been about equal with the mailbox, and I was not blocking the driveway.
How could the Lexus have been accelerating in reverse at the speed of 23.9 miles per hour when it would have collided with the Jeep, causing a violent crash that would almost certainly have severely damaged both vehicles?
Time between 12 and 1. Did you make any assumptions whether there were cars parked out front on the roadway at 34 Fairview?
At a point in time, there was a vehicle behind it.
Just one?
That is my understanding. In terms of on the street.
On the street, exactly.
Yes.
What kind of vehicle was it?
An F-150 pickup.
Did you have any understanding as to whether there was a Jeep vehicle on the road at that 12 to 1 time period?
I had seen testimony somewhere to that effect, but the majority of the testimony was there were no other vehicles.
At 31 minutes and 56 seconds, we start the health event that shows 36 steps were taken. At 32 minutes and 4 seconds, the device unlocks with Face ID. At 32 minutes and 5 seconds, messages applications on screen, and the message pull behind me is red. At 32 minutes and 9 seconds, the messages application is closed, and the device is locked for the last time. At 32 minutes and 16 seconds, the 36-step health event is ending.
Did you look into any internet connection between the defendant's phone and the router and the internet connection at Meadows Ave, John O'Keefe's home that night?
Yes. At 12:36:39 a.m., the defendant's phone auto connects to the Wi-Fi Pats Fam 123.
Very, very interesting. Hi, guys. I'm back. Probably Loophole's on a little bit longer break. Let me just remove this from the studio. And interesting video. I liked the idea of playing it today because it highlights their theory, right? The theory of what happened to John. And, you know, it's interesting because, you know, the truth is he could have been in that house moving around alive longer than we know. It doesn't appear that way by all of the information that we have. It appears like whatever happens pretty quickly, almost as soon as he walks in the door. And that's sort of when we see this little clip, it's hard to know whether or not to make anything of, like him in the boxing stance, right? But like I said, it's almost impossible to ignore because a half hour later, this man is very likely dead, and dead in a way that includes a fight. And it shows us that it was at least front of mind for him enough that we're seeing him thinking about it on some level, some way, somewhere, just a half hour before he's no longer on this earth, right? So now I've also been hearing rumors that maybe Kevin Albert was actually at 34 Fairview that night. I've heard rumors that Berkowitz was at 34 Fairview that night. You know, I guess those things are not impossible. But because there's number one, no way to substantiate it. And number two, you know, I've not actually seen evidence of it. It's hard to make anything of those things. I don't know, Vince, have you heard those theories that Kevin, Albert, and or Chief Berkowitz were in the house at 34 Fairview during that time?
I heard that, but there's really nothing to substantiate that besides rumor.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's, besides rumor, there's nothing else that we can do to substantiate it.
And why would they be there? Like, think about it. Like,
right.
It's a snowstorm. It's not a happening party.
Right. Exactly. The only way that you could maybe make some rational argument, certainly not for Chief Berkowitz, but for Kevin, would be maybe he's there to see Brian, but Jr. But like you said, there's a snowstorm the next day. It just seems incredibly unlikely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's 23 years old. It's not like it's a big milestone. It's not like they're having a party. And you know how the suburbs are. Everyone flips out about the snow. Everyone has to stay inside. Even though there wasn't much there at that point, they're not going out at midnight to meet up. In fact, like, a lot of people have said how smart the Kolakitis were, meaning Karina said, we're not fucking going there because they're normal.
Right.
Like, we have kids, I guess, we're real life. We're not doing it. So, yeah. I don't
Carrie
think
Roberts, too, because Carrie Roberts' husband was out with John earlier. And then when she's on the stand, I think she talks about how like they had planned it. And of course they had, because that's the kind of person she is. They had planned their whole night to make sure that everybody's home safe and secure by midnight, because that's when the snow was projected to start, right? So a lot of people are probably thinking that way.
I know a lot of people don't like Carrie Roberts. I sort of gravitate towards people like her. Like, she's a sort of like, she's straightforward in what she does. She follows the rules. Like, she keeps things in order. She's organized. I like people like that in my life.
Yeah, I mean, there's value to a Carrie Roberts in your life. I feel terrible for her, to be honest.
Do you feel like you've grown up to be a real parent, like our parents sort of were, or you're still immature in your own mind?
I don't know. This is a very loaded question, so I'm not. No,
well, I'll say to you, like, I don't feel like I'm like my parents. Like, my parents are always structured, like they were stable. They were, I guess, at least my perception, meaning like they were parents. Like, and with kids, I don't know if I have the same feeling as they do.
I'm nothing like my parents, I don't think. With well, not nothing, probably, but just different than my parents. I have the greatest kid so far in the world, so I feel like I take no responsibility for her at all. She's just this amazing child that like came from heaven, like the heavens, and blessed me so far. I'm knocking on wood because I know that I could be in for any moment. Like, she's at that age where like hormones have not fully kicked in yet. So, but I don't think so. I don't think she sees me as like an authoritative parental figure. But that's because she's internalized that. So she's that to herself. Like, she's the rule follower. Like, she's very well organized. She's very competitive. She gets amazing grades. She puts pressure on herself to come home and do her homework. Me and her father are like, honey, it's okay. Like, if you don't have 100 average, it's okay. It'll be all right. You can get a 90 in a class and we'll still make it through, So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how she became my child, but it's bizarre.
Right. And I understand that too. I sort of the same situation. And they're everything sort of I wish I was back then, but I wasn't. Like 90, we would have loved that 190 one time, as opposed to like crying over a 90.
That's right. Like, to value my grades at that level of, she's.
My wife and I were talking about this today, how we didn't know you could take the SAT more than once. My son's going through that phase. And then we both say, like, we were more focused on, like, the clothes that we could wear in high school, the guys, the girls. Like, it was never about SAT. And this is what I tell Miss Judy all the time. It's so easy for the Asians to beat us because us white kids are worried about football and sports. Right. And the last thing we're worried about is the SAT. That's the first thing she has her kid worried about. And it's smart.
Of course.
It's smart.
Yeah.
But I just don't feel like I'm mature like my parents were.
Yeah, I get that. I completely understand what you're saying.
And you're nothing like your parents. I mean, they never wanted to be on the radio or broadcast to the world. I mean, such a unique thing.
Yes. Right. No, my parents are not like most parents, I would say. So I don't think I would be a great gauge of, my parents are like both amazing people and they're both very lovable and fun. And that's how, I mean, they're funny. Of course, you know who my father is. Like, he's exactly the same way as he is on air, as he is off air. Just that's how he has always been since I was little, no matter where we were, way before he was ever in broadcasting. So he's that. And then my mom is also like really like a fun person who, my mom like is a social butterfly. Like, she likes to like constantly be entertaining and like, making big meals for everybody. And, that's what she likes to do, is like, she's like the center of the family. So I'm nothing like either of them, actually. I mean,
That's
maybe there's an
mix.
argument to be made, but
yeah,
I don't think.
You're a product of their environment. You're not going to be like them.
I'm not, yeah.
Potentially.
I'm something like them both, but nothing like them both too.
Yeah, because usually like the best couples I see is like you have to have a mix. If both your parents are sort of center of attention, partier, happy, there could be a conflict.
Right. It makes sense.
Then again, every single marriage has conflict. So
yeah, that's right too. Yes. All right. So let me get to some of these because we got a bunch to get to here. Okay. Nikki O'Neill 640 sends 5-something. The dome light was probably on in the Lexus because John didn't close the passenger door properly before he went into the house. Yeah, could very well be.
Or Karen just turned it on. I mean, there's no problem with her turning on. But the important thing that we know is that it's on, which makes it very visible when those kids are driving by. The fact that they all saw it on, the fact that they all saw Karen, the only one in there, and more importantly, when you have Heather saying that she saw both of them just a minute before as they passed by them, and then when they got to the house and passed by again, he wasn't there. I mean, you can't get any better evidence than that besides having a video of it. It is great evidence for John obviously exiting the vehicle when they arrived there at 12:24 and 38 seconds.
And let's not forget, we have the phone moving in a westerly direction towards the house. I mean, we have those things all happening at approximately the same time. So there is a great deal of evidence that John O'Keefe goes into that house. I hate that. I really fought against it for a long time, but as we've already talked about. But to me, it's just gotten to the point where like I can't ignore it. But I would love to hear, like, what does Kevin say about the phone moving in a westerly direction?
Nothing. His premise is that the phone doesn't move until 12:32 in those steps that we see there. Now, we know that there isn't any technical steps recorded before that. We would like to see them at 12:25 when Karen claims he gets right out of the car. And she says that very credibly. But she also said that he grabs her vodka soda, and we know for certain he reads the "you coming here" text at 12:25, literally right then. So it's most likely he's got both. And if it's moving in a westerly, it doesn't mean you're going to register any steps at all. It's not that far. And she actually mentioned that he was skipping. She doesn't do that on purpose, but I was like, in a rush, always in a rush and skipping. Right, like that could be different than Emily's CPR test in her bedroom at night. Yeah.
Yes. I also wonder, if you're using the phone, does it register differently? Like, I mean, these are all things that I guess nobody necessarily has the answers to, right? Because what we've learned is that you have to actually experiment with the phone to get the answers to these questions.
Yeah, Emily's been experimenting every night with the phone.
I know. She's been experimenting, and the problem is we you got to have the same phone. But what we learned from Ian Whiffen is it's normal in his line of business to like throw your phone in the freezer as a way to then come to court and testify about the phone and it's what it's doing.
I would love to hear Alessi when he finds out that Whiffen didn't even register the temperature of the actual freezer, because it is important. You can have way varying temperatures of a freezer, and I know it doesn't necessarily mean so much, but it is funny that Whiffy didn't even register the temperature of the inside of the freezer. Someone
How do
like
you not do that?
I don't know, but someone like an Alessi, they're type A and they're very analytical and they're smart and intelligent. Like, they would do that if you're going to do a test. It's important how cold
the first
environment
thing
you're putting
you
the
would
phone
do is
in.
write down the temperature of the, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're a scientist, that's the first thing you would do. What's the
How
temperature
dare
of the
you
freezer?
question Sir Ian Whiffen? He's from the UK. Didn't you know that?
I know. He's a police officer also. Yes, I do. Hope for Justice 26 sends $5 in something. Brian Albert Sr. said it himself that Julie's brother came after Higgins left at 1:30. Please go back. Oh, we absolutely will. I
Hold on,
absolutely will.
Julie's brother.
Do not worry. I absolutely will.
Right.
I will tell you. I will find out, and I will tell you.
All right. See what you're saying. Yeah. Why? There really is no contradiction as to when he came.
No,
right?
but maybe Brian Albert is trying to create some confusion because if those people are there around the same time as John O'Keefe, then they certainly become far more important than the people in the house want them to be, right? Because they could have seen John, or they at least saw Karen alone in the car.
Right.
So,
and we know they said they saw her alone.
Incentivize Brian Albert to move that in the timeline.
Got you. But it's not going to work. There's too many people that have already testified.
That's right.
Right.
And we
have
have
the 3
text messages and
right.
Right. Yeah. Because we have Jen later on. You know, we have Alan Jackson confirming the 1223 text because he actually calls Jen McCabe out on it. That at some point after the fact, when she's making the timeline with Carrie, she reaches out to Julie to get that time.
Right.
So, CNXN5XI sends $2. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
from
you.
the
Thank you.
moon. I saw this weird feed that comes into YouTube Shorts, and it's so interesting. I never thought about this, that we're living on the crust of the Earth, and we think that the Earth is made up of 70% water, and it's so not true. Like the Earth is just all rock, so like the water is just a little portion of it. And then I was no, it really is like we as humans think we're so important to the Earth. The Earth shakes us off, and if it doesn't want us, and it said that 95% of species have already been extinct. The Earth does not care about us. And I'm watching us bomb Iran, and then I get this a paper straw from McDonald's that disintegrates in 4 seconds, and I'm doing it to save the environment with this little straw. Why the straws? Why the attack on the straws and all the other stuff that we're doing? And we're so meaningless to this Earth, and yet I can't sip the entire drink because the straw deteriorates.
I don't know what to tell you, dear. I agree with you, though. The straws are a terrible thing. At Chris Giletto sends $4.99. Love this Monday show, and we love you. Thank you both. Thank you for being here with us. We so appreciate you.
Yeah, it is fun having a place to go on Mondays at noon, you know, like to talk about this case, because there's still a lot of interest, and we obviously have all that interest, and we're still, to this day, finding out different things, and it's crazy to think about. The other cases come and they go. Crazy. This one, for some reason, keeps sticking around because we haven't solved it yet.
Yep. We haven't solved it. We haven't gotten justice. And there are these civil cases that just keep this whole thing going, right? So Aiden's case, just all of this. And by the way, depositions start in the Karen Reed stuff next week. Now, will we ever see that? Is there any world where we get to see depositions before the trial, if there is one or isn't one?
Sure. I mean, unless the parties agree to keep everything private, which generally isn't the case for certain. Not all depositions are recorded. That's something new in terms of video recording. There's transcripts, obviously, but the video and audio recording are so much better for us. But either party can potentially leak them. You can attach them as exhibits and make them public. That's another way to do it. I know Karen and her team wants that on some level. Actually, the biggest deposition besides Karen, Brian Higgins, I would say, is the second biggest. And then you have a free range of questions. If I was representing Brian Higgins, I wouldn't allow him to testify, and we take the fifth. That's a smart thing to do it's crazy because like I know he wants to go down with the ship and his theory, but there's just too much at stake in terms of his freedom that the money really doesn't mean much in this case. Will
But
he
they
do that?
have this-
Probably not.
Probably not, because they have this desire to want to appear innocent. So taking the fifth just makes you seem guilty of something, and therefore facilitates all of us to, continue to put forth that he's guilty. Now, you're right, though, because either way, that's going to happen, and he is going to sink the ship because he's a talker, and he is terrible at it. All he does is lie his face off the entire time, and all of us are then going to have more statements to basically to then also cross against their own statements previously to compare, but also then to analyze. I mean, they're just giving us more and more and more and more to sort through.
Yeah, because if you think about it, it's
crazy.
Assume that Karen didn't kill John O'Keefe. We went through 2 trials. There hasn't been anyone convicted of this. Your client is one of 10 potential in the entire world that could do it. You have to be very careful when you're subjecting him to testimony that could be used against him. Yeah, we could say we're taking the fifth. Doesn't mean we're guilty or not. That's our right. And that's what you should do. If you're an attorney that reviews all of this evidence, it's not worth it to have your client testifying at the civil hearing. Even if you think you're saving face, you have to make that smart decision. Now, if the attorneys do it, they do it. If they don't, they don't. But if he was my client, he's not going to testify at anything at a civil trial.
I would agree with you. And however, I suspect they all will. They all will testify. Because that's what they've been doing all along, right? This is what they've been doing. We're innocent. We drive around town with Justice for JJ stickers on our cars, and we bring the family Sunday dinners, and we're indispensable to John O'Keefe's, niece and nephew, which makes them the world's worst human beings. But that's another story.
Are we ever going to see Trooper Paul do his beautiful?
Oh yeah, let's see. But let me get through some of these, and then we will see it. You're absolutely right. We have to see it. It's so interesting because it's certainly the first thing I thought of when you see. Well, I won't tell you. I want to hear what you think about what we see. So
I know it's going to be amazing, whatever it is.
It's well, like I said, we'll see what you say. So let me read some of these. At Sacred Justice 499, thank you, Sacred Justice. They were downstairs. Karen Reed said it was dark when she pulled up. This makes sense now. Lights would have been on upstairs if they were all up there. Yeah, they certainly it could be. It's absolutely possible. And like I said, at a minimum, I am willing to bet the dog is there because of the way Julie screws up. And because she screws up so many other times during her testimony, it's safe to say she screwed up on this. And the way she does it is she's so obviously lying.
Unless Karen is embellishing why she didn't go into the house. And that could be an issue too. Because if your theory is that there was a conflict and that she knew potentially John was going there to fight, in her mind, she could know that John told her, this guy, I've already had feelings that something's up. He was talking shit at the end here. I'm going in to see what the fuck's up. Not necessarily to fight. He may be a tough guy like that. He's going in there to fight too. Like you said, coming in hot.
Yeah.
Right? Not just Julie Nagel can come into a place hot. You can come in hot anger and wanting to fight.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. But what is that? Why did you just say that? Why did you just say that?
The last part was about whether or not they were in the basement and it being dark. Because Karen clearly set forth in the documentary on HBO, she didn't go in there because it didn't look like some soiree was going on. We pulled up, it was dark.
You're right. Absolutely. Yes. But she's also then, and I was going to mention this earlier, I didn't. She's also given other reasons. I mean, you mentioned a few of them at the beginning, right, of this discussion, but she's also mentioned that she had a stomach ache and wanted to go home because of that. Then she said she was hungry. Then she said that, yes, didn't look welcoming. She wasn't sure if they were at the right place. She wanted John to go in and verify that it was okay for them to come in. She also says, and this is odd, I didn't hear them extend that invite to you. The invite wasn't extended to me, but we clearly see that the invite was extended to both of them because we see on video Brian Higgins, Nicole Albert, and Brian Albert pointing at John and Karen and saying, let's go. Like, come on, guys, we're all going.
Where did she say that?
She
Well,
said
it had to be in one of the documentaries or one of the
has to-
interviews.
has to be the one that, I mean, it is so cemented in my mind. That's like almost a direct quote. That's what she says. I did not hear the invite extended to you. It wasn't extended to me. That's exactly what she says. So I don't know. There's also, by the way, you remember the thing that you showed? I don't know. Was that us together or was that on your video? You showed a clip of the Gretchen Boss, not Gretchen Boss, of the documentary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There is also a clip. So they edited that out. Somehow I got a copy. I don't even know where this came from, of the unedited clip where Karen says, I watched John break the plane. I watched him go in the door and break the plane. Now they take that out for the final copy, so it's not in there. But there is a version on the internet somewhere where she does say it that I have in my videos. Maybe it comes from that same, I have to believe it comes from the same documentary. Where else would it be from?
So this is two different things. So we're talking about now a potential another reason why she didn't want to go in, because she wasn't invited and she didn't think John was invited. That's like another reason, because she was so certain in the documentary, at least the final edit, that the reason she didn't go in was because of not feeling welcome because of the lighting, that there was no party there. Now, you do bring up a great point. That could be completely edited. They could have edited out other reasons. So we shouldn't hold her accountable just for that. I didn't even
But
think
wait a
about
minute,
it.
though. But Jen McCabe is giving them the direction. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Jen is on the phone with John saying, this is her sister's house. Like, what do you mean you weren't invited? You were absolutely invited.
Yeah, so what is Karen saying that? So I would like to hear that, because she knows she's invited. She's driving around Minecraft road back there looking for the house. She eventually calls at 12:18. And remember, they're still driving for another 6 minutes looking for the house after you confirm that it's past Bella's mom's house. Yeah, so that wouldn't be a reason. It wouldn't be a valid reason, considering the fact that you hear John talking to someone that's there, inviting you there. Yeah.
Right. And Jen is Nicole's sister. I could see if Jen was, a nobody, nothing, right? Like, but Jen is Nicole's sister. You know that. I mean, I don't know. That just seems like a strange thing to say. I also wonder whether Karen just doesn't remember, and frankly just doesn't remember. Right? Like,
and then I don't think she ever wants to say that. No, but she's sort of honest. I think she says she was drunk or buzzed or whatever.
Absolutely, yes. She doesn't like the idea of being in a brownout, though, which I think she does experience, because we see that in the text messages. Did we kiss last night, or whatever she says to Brian Higgins, right?
Yeah.
And that's why he gets like weirded out and thinks maybe it's John that's she's talking to. Okay, so let me answer some of these. Iquate Ward sends $2. Why wasn't Brian Higgins included in the group text? Great question. Yes. Why wasn't Brian Higgins included in the group text?
Which one are we referring to?
The guy never came in the house text.
Yeah. Well, you have to separate yourself from Brian Higgins. And there's a chance that none of them knew any of this during this time. And you have to understand, like, there could be a chance that Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, but there's a possibility. And if that is the case, you obviously don't want to keep the cat. They didn't kill John.
No, but Nicole, okay, so wait, just time out. The group text is Nicole Albert, Brian Albert, Jen, and Matt. Okay. So they absolutely, at that point, certainly, this is 2 days later, like, they know what happened, right? There's no way they don't. But the tagline, like, the line across the board was the guy never came in the house. Like, that was their story. And that, you know what? It worked. Like, let's just say the guy never came in the house. Right. So, but Brian Higgins is not family. And I think the point that Alan Jackson, David Yannetti, like, Karen's lawyers really drive that home. That's why, trial 2, Alan Jackson makes the family tree. The first thing he does with Jen when she gets on cross is draw out the family tree. And he really does it slowly and methodically and carefully, because he's trying to stress that you might have liked John and you might have liked Karen, but they were not family. And family to this group is so important. So Brian Higgins isn't family. And at the end of the day, I think that's the answer to your question. He is an outsider. That's why he's not sharing lawyer. Well, I guess he's now sharing lawyers, but he's an outsider.
Yeah, yeah. And you can see that physically, right? Because when we're looking at the bar, Higgins is playing with Brian Albert, and Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, and Karen and John, they're all hugging and touching each other. In fact, if you go back and look, My Precious Angel's all over John O'Keefe. If you really just focus on Jen McCabe and John, they're all over each other. Not necessarily in a horrible way, but just there's something there physically.
Absolutely.
And I can understand the attraction between both of them. And Matt McCabe too. Matt McCabe's sort of jolly. There's a time Matt McCabe is dancing. I haven't isolated that. I haven't shown it yet. But they were friendly. They weren't doing that with Brian Higgins. Brian Higgins doesn't know them. Brian Higgins only knows
Brian Albert.
But he knows John O'Keefe for these past so many
And
months.
John O'Keefe.
They were hunting for poon. They were poon hunters together. There's a big bond guys have. And all of a sudden now they're not. Like, we're not even talking really.
That's true. And he doesn't even, you think about it, he's standing for a half hour, 40 minutes on the side of Brian Albert at that table.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Chris is over there too. So I could imagine that he's between Chris and Brian. But still, he never, besides the beginning hug, he is very intentional to go right to Brian Higgins and give the hug. So that was an important move by him, I think. He breaks the tension with him immediately. Right. But then he never really goes back over to him at all. And I think that is significant because then we see Karen making her way over to him until lights are on and she's right next to him.
Yeah, it's a good point because John's always using Brian Albert as the buffer between him and Brian Higgins. It wasn't John and Brian Albert that were hunting for girls all this time, even trying to convert lesbians. They had none of that bond, which that's a huge bond between guys looking for girls.
Yes. They were friendly.
But it was more than friendly. This is like private, different things that only guys that are in a bigger relationship would say to each other. They were doing.
Yeah,
Brian
Chris Albert and John are not texting that to each other.
No.
Brian Albert and John are not texting that. They were bar buddies. I mean, they were bar buddies. Karen was in that mix too, right? I mean, even before the texts start with him alone. But so I think that's a really good point. Like, also, by the way, the House defendants on the stand make a point to clarify they have no relationship with Brian Higgins. They do this. I mean, Jen is not, she's not subtle. She's very clear. Like, are you friends with Brian Higgins? No. He's Brian Albert's friend. So, but had you known him before, you two were friendly? And she's like, no, he was Brian Albert's friend. So she's incredibly clear that I never at any point considered him a friend or even was friendly with him because he's not my friend. He's Brian Albert's friend. And she says it many times.
Yeah, and it's so weird that you say it because now that I'm thinking about Brian Albert's testimony, he's sort of downplaying that he even knows John O'Keefe. Meanwhile, we saw that for 25 minutes. It was those two that were really conversing, not anyone else.
Yep. Nicole, too. Nicole's like, Caitlin and Nicole are like, he might have came over and offered us a drink. Now, that's odd because the entire night is on, maybe they don't, to be fair, everybody's drinking. Maybe they don't remember clearly. My guess is that they're minimizing completely, but there is a video of the entire night. I mean, at least the second half of the night. So anybody at any time could have used the video to say, hey, are you sure that you're just, you just said hello? He stood next to you for 40 freaking minutes.
Exactly.
It's so bizarre. Very strange. Melsa F. Ken 764 sends $2. Hi guys, the fam photos are online real estate. The fam photos. Are we talking about? Hopefully, you're talking about the house photos, right? The house photos. Is that what she means?
Yeah, and those are great. It's so funny that the real estate company that sold the house still has all the pictures up. Obviously, we all have them saved now, but it is such a great visual to get for this case. You normally wouldn't.
Those are huge. Those pictures. They are huge, those pictures. I mean, first off, that's another thing. They're making this really significant, very big deal about the opening between the family room and the dining room. They're trying to paint it almost like it's just this one giant open space. It's just a doorway. And they're asked about this so many times, and they reiterate it so many times. If you're standing in the kitchen by the doing dishes, can you see and talk to the people in the family room? And it's like, no, but they all say yes to that. which is bizarre. What is the need to create an open space between the family room and the kitchen and dining room? It's so bizarre. But yes, they are online and you can look at them on Zillow.
But to your point,
right?
though,
Zillow?
I mean, if he goes in the house, that's why they want to make that disconnect, right? They could say that John was talking with Brian Albert and Brian Higgins separately and we didn't see it in some sort of theory. I guess the kids.
Well, but that's the opposite, though. You would think that, but they're saying the opposite. They're saying that no, it's all open. So, in other words, oh, I guess I see what you're saying. So they're painting that picture because to ward against the idea that he could have walked in and nobody saw him in the dining room or in the kitchen.
Exactly. Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Well, that certainly makes sense. Mackenzie sends $9.99. The efforts not to involve Kevin Albert, he is logically more essential to call than half of Lally's witnesses are. So intentional, similar to how they act about Colin. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's true. It is true.
It is true. He's important, and it's odd that I actually thought about, investigating, doing a whole video on him. There's just not enough there to do. There's not a lot.
That's what I was saying before. Like, we don't know him, but he's working. He's a Canton detective, Canton police officer. Yeah.
The head guy.
That's a huge. I wonder why he wasn't called in the first trial. I guess they're saying he had no involvement, but he does get technically called on the phone that very next day.
And he is involved. I mean, he was involved with Proctor. He gets brought into Proctor's investigation because he gets suspended. He is calling Proctor to set up interviews for him. Excuse me. At one point. So he is involved. I mean, there might have been a world where you could have brought him in. He's beloved by everybody on the Canton PD. They just absolutely adore him, which is odd, but they cannot contain how much they think he's the greatest cop ever. And by the way, Jen McCabe tells us that he is there. He's at the Minion meeting the next morning. So she confirms that he was there while she's there after the police all leave at 8 a.m. or whatever time. So
that is interesting. I wonder what the hell is he doing there? Is he there in a police capacity?
He's not there as a police officer. He's there as Brian's brother. And he calls him throughout the day, too. So, I mean, the whole thing is so very shady, right? It's so very shady. Thanks, Mackenzie. At Hope for Justice 26 sends $5 of some kind. John maybe saw Higgy Bear's unwell message on Karen's. Oh, wait, I did read that already. I think, right? I did see that.
Yep.
Okay, I'll read this one, and then we will show the video of Trooper Paul's testing. And Miranda Not From Here's a member for 3 months. Yay! Jen's daughter says, lights on. Jen's daughter. You mean when she's asked about the snow, she just... He asked her about snow, the accumulation of snow, and she responds, lights on, normal, one-sided shoulder shrug, which is just classic. Allie is something. About the house, even when she wasn't asked. That's right. That was important for her to say. So maybe the lights were off. Yeah, I mean, God only knows what's going on there. I mean, I don't know if she just didn't know what else to say. But the thing is, she says, lights on, normal. And then she stops the conversation and says, that's all I know about that. That's it. That's what she says. That's it.
It is an odd crossing, if you think about that. Jen McCabe's daughter and Colin Albert potentially could have left at 12:10 and almost missed everybody coming, because the mom's coming at 12:14. So there's 4 minutes past. So there's a little window of time where they almost could have crossed paths.
Well, but they weren't there. I mean, I don't know how you don't know this, but Allie was not there. Allie was not there. She wasn't there. I don't know how you don't know it, but she just wasn't there. I mean, they can't tell you. Colin can't tell you if he got into the passenger side. He can't tell you whether there were other people in the car. He can't tell you anything about what was going. He can't tell you whether he got into the passenger side or the back. Can't tell you where he got into the car. She can't tell you whether she drove one way or the other. She can't tell you where she parked. She says she pulled into the driveway, but she doesn't know where in the driveway. She doesn't know anything about what was going on at the house, in the house, when he came out. Neither of them can give you any information at all about what was going on at any time around this event. It is beyond bizarre. Okay.
Hello. He knows exactly the time he left, 12:10 and 10 seconds. So don't tell me he can't remember anything. He knows exactly to the second when he left.
Dan, would you stop? This is because he's been given a text thing that he has to, read, whatever. His parents told him what to say. Hold on. All right, I got to find the video, though. Here it is. I got to unzip the file. All right.
I think were there two files
There's
that came in
two.
there?
There is two,
both,
yeah.
Both. One was more riveting than the next, I remember.
Yeah, they're not terribly exciting. Hold on. But they're a little bit interesting because, again, the idea is like, when did these tests happen, right? All right, so we have...
Trooper Paul get promoted to that position?
Oh, my God.
I mean, someone's got to make... And I love Trooper Paul, but someone's got to make decisions. Like, this guy's going to have to do tests, so he's got to have some knowledge of stuff, and then he's got to testify. All right, so here we go. What is this?
So this is his testing. That's what I wanted to show you.
I know, I'm just showing, but like, set us up here. Where are we at Canton PD?
I have no idea where this is. It doesn't tell us
I
where
believe this is Canton PD. This is the infamous Canton. I believe it is. I think so.
So this is him backing up. I think he's trying to determine, at least in hindsight, he tells us he's looking to see if the cameras work, I guess.
I'm sorry. I just love the guy. So look at him. Look, he's so great.
Hi. This is actually Karen's car, right? This is Karen's vehicle. There he is, backing up at 4 miles per hour, going straight.
Is this real time?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. That's pretty fast there.
That was fast, but he's going forward.
Yeah, obviously.
So I guess he's going to try to go. So, I mean, he could have been the guy, obviously, who's traveling between 60 and 120 feet at 75% on the throttle, right? Or whatever,
exactly.
on the gas pedal. Yeah. And to me, that is precisely what this appears like it happened.
Right, because unless somehow he knew that it was 24 miles an hour before he did this exam, I don't know. I don't think he did. Did he record any of this before? Trooper Paul, look.
It's a really good point.
See, that's a weird thing too. He didn't go that fast there, and you could see it's kind of dangerous to be doing this test right there, idiot, because you can fall and hit that slide and hit the curb and easily bang that car up. But it's Canton, so.
But look, it's interesting because he's got the police car, like blocking off so nobody can come in or out.
Yeah, that's right. I have a feeling Emily would know if this is Canton PD. She spent plenty of nights there.
It certainly could be. It could be Canton PD. You're right.
Remember we saw like little Colin Albert in his arrest video with the stalker? It sort of looks like that. And they did clear out all the cars on the side there.
Yeah, it does. And if we were looking at it the other way, right? Like we do when we see Brian Higgins it could be that this is that camera right there over the garbage looking thing. It could be.
Did Trooper Paul ever explain what the hell he was doing with this?
He's, I think, like I said, I think what he tells us is that he was checking to see if the cameras worked, like the backup camera worked. But aside from that, I have no idea.
This is riveting, man. He did a great job. Here he goes
so
again.
That looks like it could be getting closer to 24 miles per hour, right? A little closer.
Well, don't you see all the markings he did on the street to make sure how far it is? And then the videoing the speedometer. He did. Look at it. Look how great. Come on. How do you not love the guy? Just his head sticking out the window is great.
Oh
did I do it okay? Look at it. I love him.
It's a great question. How does this guy become the accident reconstructionist for the state police? Like, let's how does that happen?
I'd rather interview the people that were rejected over him.
That's interesting. He was probably promoted internally, right? I would guess. This is probably a like climb up somehow. I don't know. Maybe
again,
he's good
I'm not
he's a mechanic, right? He might be a good like auto guy.
You think?
Well,
I don't
no.
know.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
he
he's-
had like a big Stanley. Like real men don't walk around with Stanleys on the stand and things.
I don't know. He's got to be.
I
decent
can't see my
somewhere.
grandfather ever lugging around a Stanley.
I don't know.
Sorry.
I don't.
What did
know.
that just do? Look at all this
He's just
backing up. Like,
backing up.
did he ever claim that he registered what key cycle it was before he started doing all this?
What do you mean?
Because
He says that he used the odometer, the mileage, for when he starts his testing. That's what he tells
did he
us.
record that in any way?
He says he did. I mean, we see a document.
Okay.
I have not actually done a full analysis of Trooper Paul's because he's just too much. I can't even take it. But there's another video. Let's see what this one is. Hold on.
Was that it though? I mean, I
That's
can
it.
watch. I can watch every second of that guy. I mean, I swear to you, him sticking his head out and just looking at the cameraman, and you know he probably thought he did something great. It's just so funny. I love the guy.
Oh my god, he's so ridiculous. I would like him a lot more if he
Oh my
wasn't
God,
a state police trooper. Okay, so this
What
is
the
the
hell is
same. So this is see how he's looking at the camera. This is the interior view of what we just
Oh,
saw.
that's cool.
Yeah, I think he's trying to show us that the camera works, the backup camera.
Was that Lang?
Because they're
just
trying to
walking
prove Karen did this on purpose. Sorry, that's what the point is.
That's what this is going to prove?
I think that's what he's trying to prove, yes. See, look, her camera works. Oh, and look, there's sensors too. See that sensor that says that there's something behind the vehicle?
That's interesting. Wow, this is crazy. God, Corey's amazing. Like to get this. I love this. Like inside this car. Now, is that his drink that he just flops into?
That's a good question. I don't think so.
No, but I'm being serious though.
I know you are. I
The
don't think
whole-
so.
Whose would
That
it
was
be?
there. Karen's.
They left Karen's drink just flopping around while he's doing these high speed tests.
Very
I bet you.
possibly.
I guarantee you, it's his.
You think
or
it's
someone
his?
else's. Yeah, they don't care. They don't
Oh
care
my
about
God.
fingerprints or.
Oh my god, such clowns. Okay,
Was
so
that
this
Lank
is
that-
interesting.
So I can't. I mean,
Who's
my
that
wife
guy?
is like this too. I always look at everything in the background in people's houses. You know, you zoom in on their pictures.
It does look a little bit like Lank, but I don't
like
think
Lank.
it is him. I don't think so.
Alright.
It's interesting. I don't know. I don't know if this is the PD. We would definitely need somebody else to help us.
Someone has to tell us where's Emily when we need her.
I think she's here, or she
I can
was
hear her
here.
screaming.
I
I have a feeling he brought his own Dunkin' Donuts for the test. I just
All
have a
right,
feeling.
so that's all we get from Trooper Paul's testing. We do
Case
have
closed.
documents.
Guilty.
I mean, right? How absurd is this? And they actually presented this stuff in court. Like I know that I can be tough
That?
on him. It's just because he's. Come on, you guys. This is the guy they put on the witness stand to put a woman in prison for the rest of her life. Like, seriously.
I know. And the crazy thing is, she almost lost.
I know. I
Like
know.
with him, this should have been the easiest case to defeat if you think about it. Like in the first trial, second trial is a lot harder because you're going against Hank, and he cut out all the bullshit. So that's how you know Hank is smart. He didn't use any of the things that he didn't need. There was no way he would put Trooper Paul in there. Not in a million years. And again,
No,
Trooper Paul, I
never.
love you. I love you so much. Just
no.
Investigating accidents is not your cup of tea, but you're a great guy.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd be just as bad as you are.
It's just that you're not working for the state police as their accident reconstructionist, which is thank
I don't
God
know. Maybe
for all
I'll
of us.
apply today. I could probably get the job, right?
Oh my God. Okay. At Abacus Flinch sends $20. Thank you, Abacus. I have two theories. Number one, in addition to being rivals for Karen, John and Brian Higgins were also battling over interesting Brian Albert's attention.
Better believe it.
Could be. Yep. Maybe Karen and John argued about Brian Higgins, and John said, maybe I'll kiss a lady at Fairview. Like who, though? Who could be that person?
Jen. Well, you know
Well,
that Karen's...
Karen wouldn't have seen it, though, right?
I think he's saying John said, maybe I'll kiss a girl at Fairview.
Maybe Karen
to get her
and John
jealous.
argued about Brian Higgins. Oh, I see. Maybe he said that. Yeah. Sure. I mean, they could have thought absolutely about any number of things in that car. And she does tell us that they fought. I mean, I never really gave much merit to it because, you know, they didn't have a lot of time to be in that car to get into kind of like a huge brawl before he gets out again. But she does leave him there, which is odd. Right? I could see girls that I've dated. I could see my wife doing that. Even when we're dating. I get that it is odd. Yeah, because you're pissed. Like, where the fuck are you? Like, it has to be that situation. If John was alive, he never would have just not come out or not contact. Actually, that's a great point. Because if John is capable of using his phone between 12:25 and 12:32, and he's not fighting with it, why wouldn't he even have contacted Karen? I never thought about that. Yeah, that's a long time to have your girlfriend. And he's considerate to her. Even if they're fighting, he knows that most of the time it's going to blow over. That's the cool thing about Karen. She fights hard, but she gets over it quickly. Yeah.
It's kind of like my wife, too. Yeah, like some girls never get over things. Like she gets over a fight quickly. Like she'll call you fucking slut and then she'll buy you dinner in the next hour.
Maybe. I don't know that she doesn't hold it over his head after the fact, but that's irrelevant.
Well, all girls do that. Yeah, of course.
Right.
Oh, yeah. My wife's got a scroll of things she'll use against me whenever she can.
Right.
But I'm saying, like, in the moment, you know, like when you're mad at someone, you can't stand them and then you get over it. She gets over things quickly. And John understands that, too.
Sure. But I'm still, like, I don't know. She's not waiting for that long. I mean... I don't know.
But I get what Abacus is saying, though. When as a guy, even if you're cheating on a girl, if you find out that she's cheating on you, then all of a sudden you get jealous. You have no necessarily right to be, and you could say something like that to her as you're rolling up the 34 Fairview.
You're right. Yes, right. Or what if? What if I did blah, blah? Yeah. It's interesting. So it's like, what if... Because he doesn't know about the kiss, to our knowledge. But... just flirting is bad enough, right? She's like, what are you, he says, what are you, hooking up with him?
Then 14 days of silence, then an actual confrontation with them, and he sees there's something up. He's not dumb. She never ignored him. This goes to Alan Jackson. There was no ignoring. Brian Higgins and Karen are flirting, and there's chemistry there, and John O'Keefe is right behind them, looking at it. And more importantly, he's not talking to Brian Higgins at all, which they used to do for all those months that we weren't aware of in the first and second trial.
Right. Yeah, they should have been friendly, right? And they're not even talking.
Right. No.
So Ike Ward sends $2 and says, then why are they covering up for Brian Higgins? Because it's a great question. I think this is part of the thing that many people struggle with. But the answer is because they must have a personal investment in, it's like survival for them too. It has
we
to
use the
be,
term self-preservation, but the question is, what are we preserving? Everyone's got their own way to preserve it, right? Something to preserve.
But they had to have, I mean, we know at a minimum, right, that there's a dog involved. We know that the Massachusetts has laws about dogs and who's the owners are responsible. So there's, you could, at a minimum, make that argument, right?
And don't downplay that argument too. Growing up in a white suburb, it is weird because they being the insurance companies, trick you into believing that if you ever make a claim on your car insurance, your rates are going to go up, that you'll never be afford to drive again. So what happens is you'll get into an accident in the white suburbs and no one even files a claim. They'll try and settle it on the street. Like, I'll pay you $500 if you go to this mechanic. Meanwhile, like, that sucks for our business as personal injury attorneys, but for some reason there is this insurance / fear that they may have had with regard to liability. And money is a huge factor potentially in this if they believe that somehow they weren't involved, but they could be liable money-wise, which could very well explain he never came into the house. You know, we had nothing to do with it.
Right, 100%. There's other potential considerations also, right? There's all the different, your life flashes before your eyes, and drunk, you make a knee-jerk decision, and we don't know. I mean, this is where everybody gets stuck. To your point, this is why this case, I think, hooks so many people, because these are the questions that lots of people start asking to try, and then go down the rabbit hole to try to get the answers to. So this is really interesting, Janelle. So Janelle 1012 sends 499. Your video on Jen's 911 call at the very end, I swear I heard her whisper, "Don't come out of the house." Now, I think, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think other people have claimed this also, because on the voicemail part of the call, not the 911 side, that you can hear her whispering in the background. It is incredibly hard to hear. There are times when I can hear it, and then times when I'm not able to hear it. So I will go back and look for that statement exactly. Don't come out of the house. I don't know if I ever remember hearing that. Have you heard this before? Don't come out.
No, don't bother. I already listened. It says, "I'm dead. I'm fucking dead."
Cute. I will definitely listen, though. Thank you for sending. Yeah, doesn't get much worse than that. At Veda Jade sends $10. Jennifer McCabe, use Google for the Google search. Why not? Yeah, we've been asking this question forever. Why not subpoena Google and Apple accounts instead of the device? Proctor was caught because he signed into his old Apple account. It's a great question. Remember Michael Easter? This was the very first thing that he said when I first heard him interviewed. He said the first thing he would do is he would subpoena for the Google information, because it should be able to tell you immediately if she made that search.
100%. And the question is, why haven't they done it? I don't know, but it will be there somewhere, and you can get that, and that will answer that question. Always go to the
How
source.
long does Google keep records like that? Do you know?
No, as people say that sometimes there are laws with regard to how long records have to be kept, although probably not necessarily in this situation there's an actual law, but for the most part they have no problem keeping things for an infinite amount of time, because they have all the actual servers that can handle it. Whereas a Ring, let's say, if they're almost every company is paying Amazon's web service to store data, and Google has their own, so they have their own capability. But in the end, that's who you're paying. Amazon does not make much money off of selling you junk from China. They make their real money from their servers, and that's a total separate business. So as long as you have access to that, which obviously Google does, and so does Apple, so they can keep that forever, and I believe that it is kept forever if they really want to get to it.
We should be able to get to it is really the point.
Yes.
I think the answer is we probably can, and hopefully we will.
Yeah,
that would be.
And again, the civil attorneys will do it. I think they were getting a lot of heat from Bev, and you have to get. Sometimes they won't Google. They won't even give it unless there's an actual police subpoena, because they want to keep your records private.
That's a really good point too, right? Like Bev was making life really hard, and it's easy to forget that for sure. At Looney Tick sends $9.99. Taking the key cycle speed in miles, I recall believers that it happened right before the car was put on the tow truck while it was stuck in the snow spinning out. Yeah.
Yes, we all did see that too.
Yeah,
and I don't know. How about Lexus and whoever makes the stupid system? How about just using regular clocks, dude? Instead of the key cycles, just use the time. I don't know. Make things easier. And I told you about someone asking about the door open. You can include all that data too. It's important. If a door opens, just record it at the exact time it is, and don't bother us with key cycles, because little data is easy to store. It's not like a video or a picture.
No, but
it's data.
they do though. This is the problem. Like, so we saw like there's a whole presentation you can go on, and they actually, you can go, there's tons of videos. Like the telematics people do these really elaborate videos explaining the system and teaching it to other people. And they say that there is a clock, that the time is there. So I don't know why it's not. These are like one of those questions. It just doesn't make any sense. There is a clock on the telematics
Is it
system.
a real clock and not the thing that Ozzy always yells about to me
The
from
UTC
Australia?
clock?
Just a real clock. Just like
It's a real
I don't
clock.
care if I have to subtract 5, but
legitimate
not
clock.
drifting and not when it starts. Just a clock. Tell me what time it is when she hits the accelerator.
My understanding is that it has a clock, that the telematics system has a clock. So I have no idea why we are unable to access it. It does not make sense. I don't know.
Well, I'll say
I don't
this,
know the
that
answer.
everyone on the other side, that's what they're hanging their case on, the fact that this data shows she backed up 24 miles an hour. Again, I don't know when it occurred, but they sort of pinpointed to the 3-point turn that she made, and then they can determine, well, this must be it. But you can make a 3-point turn at any point. We don't know if that's a 3-point turn she made when she was going to 34 Fairview.
No, we
Just
don't.
make it according to whatever the clock, the real clock.
It's just so silly. The whole thing is so
It's
silly.
like
But
it's so
even
dumb.
if that was, I mean, this is the problem with their whole theory. Even if that is exactly what happened, John O'Keefe was not hit at 24 miles per hour by an SUV. Like, it's so silly. The whole thing is ridiculous. But to your point, we don't even know if that data is relevant.
Right. We don't know because we don't know the
We have no
time.
idea. We don't know the time. Correct.
Stupid.
Yep. It's so silly. It's so silly. KC68-1 sends $4.99. Brian Albert is a sociopath. He's getting off by instigating. He's directing everyone. John and Chloe were collateral damage. Machiavellian. No, I would agree with you that Brian Albert is the head guy. I think there's no question about that.
But he's not that bright.
100%.
So again, he's not a
Right.
high IQ. He's not a Machiavellian. He's not some serial killer that knows how to get away with stuff like that. He's just not. I don't even think he tries to be. You could see the way he talks.
Yeah.
He's just not.
But they have a lot of, people, and they're connected to that community. I mean, and once you get out of that community, they're in trouble. And this is why I think time is going to be the enemy for these people,
Yep.
because once all their friends are out of these high positions, now you've got nobody protecting you, and that's going to be a real problem for all of these people once Morrissey is out.
Yeah, he just gave me the chills. We know he's out. He bailed out.
He's
So
out.
do we know that Adam Deitch is going to win? Deitch is going to win.
We don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
anybody could win, right? And we don't know, but I would think he probably is. I would think that he's going to win, because I think that town is tired. It'll probably be a huge turnout for the election, though. It'll be fascinating to watch. I mean, none of us.
It's going to be the funniest election ever. What is
Right.
it, a Norfolk County election? Where the hell's Norfolk County?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
we're going to be so...
exactly.
It's going to
We're all
be
going
great.
to be like waiting
I
for
love
the
this.
freaking. It's going to be great. No, I know. Hopefully he wins, though. Could you imagine? That is a huge win for all of us if he wins. So, and you're going to see probably Chris Albert closes his shop. I mean, it's going to be a huge, huge blow if that happens to these people.
Don't do it, Chris. Stay open. No, people are going to come I'll come to Norfolk. I'll get a slice at Chris's place. I don't even get Chris right now.
But it's scary. I'm sure it's scary for them, right? I mean, that's the point. Like, I don't, whether I just think that they're going to run scared. I mean, it has to be scary. Has to be.
I say to you, always look at the ones that are running that no one's chasing. And the one who hasn't ran is Chris Albert. He's always been there serving Canton's third best pizza pie.
Yes, you're right.
Are there any other pizza places in Canton?
No, I don't think
I
so.
was calling the third best pizza maker in Canton.
No, actually, he does not make a bad pizza, and I am a pizza connoisseur. I know everybody hates me for saying that, but he actually does know how to make a decent slice of pizza. I was shocked. Because I'm like, pizza snob over here. But I was like, wow, this is really good pizza. I couldn't believe it. And they're big, giant slices, honestly. So
How big?
there you go. I just plugged Chris Albert's pizza shop. And on that note, dear, I'm leaving because it is time. It is time. It is time. It is that time.
You did
3
end
hours
it
and
with
7
plugging
minutes.
Chris Albert.
I did. I know. Everybody hit the like button if you haven't already, because I always forget to say it. So hit the like button right now. And thanks everybody for being here with us. You guys are the best. You really, really are the best ever. We have the best chat in the world. Anything you want to say, Vince, before we go?
That's it. I appreciate it. I'll see everyone next Monday.
We'll see you guys next Monday. Vince, have a beautiful week. I'm sure I'll
Thank you,
speak to you very
Samantha.
soon. And everybody enjoy the Corey Richins trial. If you haven't started watching that, I would. It's definitely worth it. It's been a fascinating journey so far. So everybody have a great Monday. Bye, guys. Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye, bye, bye.
It is the defense counselor's duty to protect the rights of the individual, as it is the prosecution's duty to uphold and defend the laws of the state. Justice for all. Only we have a problem here.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.
This is me reminding you to like this video, comment, subscribe, like this video.